Hello, hello, hello. Live and in the house with Carrie. What's up, Carrie?
Woo, woo.
Welcome everybody to this fun and fantastic live stream we have here today with the one and only Carrie. She has a Substack all about that she's talked a lot about deprogramming, leaving Alcoholics Anonymous, and deprogramming from AA ideology. It is already linked below if you are watching on YouTube. I'm just making sure. Oh yeah, live in the house. I see the vibes. Okay,
Woo.
we're good to go.
Yay.
So this is super exciting. So today we're going to be talking about, y'all know April's been Dissent Month around here on the podcast. Welcome to Kirsten Johnson Podcast, formerly known as Sobriety Bestie Podcast. And we've been talking all about dissent this month. Part of it has been that I've wanted to hopefully encourage anybody who's been feeling compelled or the call or led to speak up about harms within any system, or specifically Alcoholics Anonymous, to encourage you to do it. And it hasn't been easy. It was very scary to do it for me. The hardest part was doing it the first time, ripping that Band-Aid off and breaking my anonymity. And but it's been one of the most rewarding and transformative journeys I've ever been on, to really stand firm in my truth despite the relentless ad hominem bill shittery. And so yeah, it's really grown me tremendously. And so I wanted to bring on Carrie today, who's been writing a Substack blog and has been out and proud about her freedom after deprogramming and during deprogramming from 12-step ideology. So for everybody watching live, or if you're watching the replay, let us know in the comments, are you thinking about dissenting? Did you leave AA? If so, how long ago? Maybe you want to share where you're tuning in from. I'm drinking a little coffee, and yeah, would love to make
Water
this
here.
a conversation. So feel free to vibe with us live in the comments. Welcome, Carrie.
Yay. I'm so glad to be here. It's so fun to vibe with you. And this is my first time ever doing live.
Live in the house. I know it's kind of all the feels the first time, isn't it? Live is kind of like, ooh.
I cleared out the house though, so there shouldn't be any interruptions. So I put a sock on the door. I said, if you come home and there's a sock on the door, don't come in. So
I love it. I love it. We got a comment here. Cool. Can't wait. Party in the house with Carrie. Y'all may have seen that I've done several episodes on this podcast with Carrie already. I think we're up to, is this number 8? We have a whole podcast. If you go to my YouTube channel, there's a whole podcast section where it's called Recovered, ED, as in been there, done that, finished it, Recovered with Carrie. So we've done a lot. We've done Carrie's story of being in AA. How long were you in AA?
I was in over 30 years.
Okay. So her story of leaving AA after being in there over 30 years. We did some big book deconstruction, going through the big book. We did a lot of funny skits where we dressed up.
We even sang, which I wouldn't recommend but it was fun.
For Thanksgiving, which is like an American holiday, we did, and so gratitude's big in AA, sometimes in fellowships in November in America, we did gratitude police. We deconstructed sobriety birthdays and sober time in September when I turned 16 years sober. And Carrie, what were you celebrating?
26?
26, but by the way I count, it would have been 36, right?
Yeah, it'd have been more.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of fun here, vibing back and forth. And I wanted to bring Carrie on to talk about her journey dissenting AA, speaking out against 12-step ideology. So just kind of a roadmap of what we might cover today. Hint, hint, ask questions in the comments and we could pull your question up and Carrie and I can answer them live. But I wanted to explore what it's been like for Carrie to dissent. I know public speaking is not easy for anybody. Generally, it's like a huge fear, right? And then whistleblowing a cult is not easy either. And then, whistleblowing a cult like Alcoholics Anonymous, where the society still generally thinks that AA is safe, effective, and without harm, is even in my mind a next level. So I just feel like anybody who does step up to that plate, knowing the potential consequences of that, meaning getting shunned, silenced, hate, or whatever comes your way, I just think it's really brave. And I don't think it's for everybody, but if you feel like that's what you feel led to do, I definitely encourage it. It's been very rewarding all in all for me. I've grown tremendously, even from navigating all the trolls.
Mhm.
Carrie's story is a bit different than mine. Carrie had I would say, less of the ad hominem attacks than I have. So I think it's really
Mhm.
inspiring and it'll be fun. And before we jump in that, we have a couple of comments here. What's up, Jeb? Good to have you here live. Hello, hello. Jeb's in the house. What's up? And we got Frank, aka Frank. Thanks, Gratitude Police, tuning in from Central Coast of California. What's up? Good morning in California. We got Kate here. Hello, Kate. Hi, those episodes were so much fun. Yeah, we had a lot of fun making them. Okay, so Carrie, I was wondering if you could take me to, we did prepare some questions here. And Carrie, you can talk about whatever the heck you want, but
Okay.
I'll kick you off with a question. Take me to the exact moment when you realized staying quiet wasn't an option anymore.
All right. That's a good question. So I started quietly, internally, leaving AA in 2020. And I took a year. I mean, most of it was just on the down low. I didn't talk about it. I did my own research. I started to question. It was during the pandemic. I had a lot of time alone. I had a lot of time where I wasn't running around doing things. And so I started questioning, do I really need to do this? Is this something that I need to continue to do? Why am I still calling myself an alcoholic when I haven't drank for so long? And I was getting tired of the language, powerless, unmanageable. So I started really dissenting a year before I actually did it, quietly, internally. And then I was looking for somebody on the internet. I looked through medical journals. I was trying to find someone who would say, Carrie, it's okay to leave AA, and this is how you do it. I couldn't find anybody. And the first person I found that was even speaking about leaving AA was you, Kirsten, in that April of 2025. And you were actually the one that sparked my courage to come out of the closet as being an AA dissenter. Because before that, I was too afraid. I mean, that first phase is the scariest. It's so scary. And so when I did finally come out, and that was by doing a podcast with you, telling my story, and then starting a Substack column. When I first came out as dissenting from AA, I was so terrified. I imagine a posse of 12-step women coming to 12-step me and to get me back in the program, because I was taught in the program that we take care of each other, that, you know, that when somebody's in trouble, you rally. And so I truly believed that they were going to come and try to rope me back in and convince me that I was making a mistake. And it was radio silence. The silence was deafening. And I guess what it told me was, well, on one hand, I was really happy that nobody came after me. But on the other hand, I thought, it's all been a lie. You know, it's all been a lie. They don't really care about me unless I'm paying my dues. And your dues in AA is going to meetings and being compliant. And if you leave, it's like any cult, then you're dangerous. And so you're contagious. So they just ignore you. And the funny thing is, Kirsten, now, if somebody in AA is nice to me, I'm skeptical of their niceness and their kindness. I think, you know, because I'm so aware of that predatory action of, like, are they just making sure they have a connection to me so when I fail they can reel me back into the program? Are they just being nice because the program says maybe they should be nice to those people who are sick? So I don't even
Right.
trust people anymore.
Yeah, I call it kind bombing. That's what I named it, like, right after I started dissenting, because at first these people that I knew from AA were being kind to me, and then they were being kind with control, and then it was just straight control. And so it was kind of like sugar-coated control. At first it was like, "Oh yeah, say whatever you want. I love that you're doing your thing. Yeah, okay." And then it was
Yeah.
like, "Wait, maybe you shouldn't talk about that part of it, or you should actually not say this to anyone, or stop talking."
Hmm.
And it just kind of slowly went into that trying to control the narrative, which is AA is the way and it's great and it's for everyone and you should come back.
Right. Right. I mean, I was really surprised. I only had one person, and it was somebody I considered a good friend, long time in long time sobriety, reminded me a lot of my mom, and we joked about that. And she was just a really good friend. She blasted me on Facebook and basically said, "Shut up, leave if you want, but don't talk about it. You're going to kill people." Then she unfriended me, and maybe other people unfriended me or unfollowed me too. I don't know, and I don't really care, because and today I know that that's just their fear. So I would say, if you're leaving and you're paranoid or you feel like it's dangerous, it's not because it is dangerous, it's because that's what AA told you and you're indoctrinated into their thinking. It's really not dangerous to leave. You won't die.
Right. And some people are going to want a different recovery path if they leave. They wouldn't have been, or I mean, I think that we can decide when we're recovered. That's my opinion. And I recovered well before I left AA at 10 years sober. I was long recovered at that point. My brain, I had a whole new brain. I didn't have a brain that was dependent upon alcohol anymore. So that part of my brain had recovered. And so some people leaving AA are still going to want to deprogram, but also find another recovery path. And I think there's a lot of supportive paths out there. So, and it's fine to speak up if you're still recovering and you're in another path, or even if you're not sober and you want to speak up. Dissenting doesn't depend upon sobriety. I mean, Burn the Stigma
Right.
is a great example of this. She smokes pot all the time and she dissents all the time. And her message is around, I'm not using heroin anymore. I had to leave the program in order to have a functional relationship with substance, a non-chaotic substance issue. So there's dissenting can look like whatever it is. And of course the trolls are going to pick whatever angle is unique about you to like really like nobody's going to come at me saying, although maybe they should, because they're taking my word for it that I'm sober, but I am, no one's coming at me saying what you say doesn't matter because you're not sober, like they do to Tara, Burn the Stigma. They say what you say doesn't matter because you're an entrepreneur, and they say what they say to Quackaholics Anonymous, what you say doesn't matter essentially because you had a bad experience with AA. I didn't have a bad experience with AA. So they find the angle they can find about you, and then they go all in on that angle. And they're like, you're just doing it for clicks. I'm like, bashing for clicks? Okay, bro. Or you're in prison and I'm saying this is the way out and you can't hear me. So you're finding whatever angle you can to harass me. And they find one that has a little bit of truth to it. Like what is an angle that might work? Did anybody find an angle with you that felt like it might be accurate? Like your hidden motivation for being an AA hater?
Well, yeah, I had, well, you're not supposed to talk about what happens in meetings, but people do. And I have a friend that still goes to meetings who shared with me that I was the topic of conversation in more than one meeting. And how they were referring to me was a resentful old timer.
Oh, you got the old timer one. That's so funny. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. You would get that, huh? Resentful. You're a dry drunk, an old dry drunk.
Yep. Old dry drunk, resentful, old timer, so far away from the steps, they don't even know how to stay sober, stuff like that. And it's the ad hominem stuff. I mean, it's the same thing that you always talk about. It's not true. I'm not resentful, but the truth is I am resentful. I was resentful, and that's okay. I mean, yes, I was resentful when I realized I'd been scammed in this program for so long. I was angry when I figured out that I'd allowed myself to be used and abused for years and years and years in Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah, I was resentful, but that's not why I left. That's not why I left at all. I didn't leave because I was angry. I didn't leave even because I thought AA was a cult. I didn't leave because something happened. I just started to think critically. I started, and I did what they always say: if you think too much, you're going to think yourself right out of AA. And I thought myself right out of AA. That's exactly what I did.
Could you imagine joining a group that tells you not to think? What the fuckery are we going on here? Like, what do you
That's what they
mean?
that's exactly what they tell you. Don't think. Don't think. And I will tell you something that's very unexpected from leaving AA. One of the things that's very unexpected is I've become less judgmental. In AA, they say live and let live. They keep your own side of the street clean. Take your own inventory. Don't take. But the truth is, they all do it. And AA groomed me. I don't know about anybody else, but AA groomed me to be judgmental. Always taking an inventory. Always looking at what I was doing. And of course, I was looking at what other people were doing too. I sponsored lots of women. I had my whole life was AA. That was my community. Those were my friends. And you better fucking believe it. I was judging them. And maybe not to their face, but I was thinking, I'd be thinking like, oh, they're headed for a relapse, or, oh, they're angry. They're full of self-pity. They're being so selfish. They're just not working a good program. And I would judge them silently, or sometimes I would share my judgment as a concerned person. And then I might say, but for the grace of God, go I, which is so condescending. Like that could be me. I'm so grateful it's not, that's just so condescending.
Right. Let's pause right here. I'm wondering if anybody who is watching live with us, what's up, livers, or anybody who's catching the replay, did you feel that you were groomed by AA to be super judgmental, or did you notice that other people appeared who were saying things like live and let live, turn it over, pack into the stream of life, all that jargon? Did you notice that AA people around you were extremely judgmental? Let us know what you think about the judgmental piece. And I think that's important to remember for anybody who's dissenting AA, like speaking honestly about their experience with AA or their understanding of cult indoctrination, cult recovery, leaving AA, all of the things that they're not everybody, obviously. It's not like everyone is one way in AA. Obviously, there's amazing people in AA, like period, right? I mean, weren't we all there, right? Not that we're all, you know what I mean, though. And so to understand like the mentality of what the indoctrination does to somebody, and in a way we're kind of innocent when we walk in and get indoctrinated. We don't really know what we're signing up for. There's no informed consent, so we do get groomed into certain ways. But we're going to be receiving that if we dissent, right? We're going to be receiving people who are in that ideology. I think of it like a fish in water, right? You can't really see you're in it. We can see they're in it once we start deprogramming and understanding what it is that they're in, the AA ideology. But a lot of people are groomed to be quite judgmental in there, like our way or death, basically. And so they're gonna look at us in the very stereotypical ways. You're resentful, you're angry, you're a dry drunk, or Carrie's case, you're an old timer dry drunk. In my case, you're an entrepreneur, so nothing you say matters. Quacky's case, you had a bad experience. Bernie's case, you're stoned, so what you say doesn't matter. They're just going to find whatever angle, and it's going to be like harsh judgment. It's so funny. I had this old timer trolling me this morning, but they're not even aware of it, which is so weird. This woman, I mean, she left me this comment that was super judgmental, was like calling me names and like whatever. And I just like, it's kind of water off a duck's back at this point. Like it's ain't no thing, like bigger fish to fry than like worrying about what an AA member says about me. But she said something super judgmental, and then we went back and forth a little bit. And at the very end, she's like, I don't judge, and I'm not here to judge anybody. And I was like, incorrect. Your comments are literally judging me. And I did like a laughing emoji, and she wrote back and put lol with the emoji with the hand over the face. I'm like, okay, at least she sees herself now, because, and then I was like, it's all good. Like, I wish you the best. Like, I don't care that you were judging me, but don't judge me relentlessly and then say you're not judging me. It's like this disconnect, this cognitive dissonance of that you are actually perpetuating the behavior that you're saying that you're against. It's like, and that you can't even really see it. Although she did, I was impressed that she actually like, when wrong, promptly admitted it, kind of vibes. Oh, lol, oops. Well, she didn't say sorry. She said LOL, but she acknowledged it then that she was being judgmental while she's saying she's not judgmental. I'm like, but just be judgmental and own it. Like, I have a lot more respect for the guy who called me a dumb NT, then the person who's like judging me then saying they're not judgmental. I'm like,
Right, right. And really, the only time I've really been blasted, other than the woman who blasted me on Facebook and told me to shut up, just move on and leave and don't talk about it, was when I commented on one of your posts.
yeah,
And then
they're brutal on my Facebook.
somebody called me a Karen, and then they flashed their dick at me by showing me their credentials. And I sat there for a bit. I thought, oh my God, do you not see what you're doing? They can't see what, I don't think they can see what they're doing at all. So I just said, sticks and stones. And then, kind of like your lady this morning, the guy's like, yeah, okay. He saw that he was calling me names, and that I was like,
Yeah.
how can you call me a Karen when I'm just disagreeing with you about something?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. They're
so
quick to it.
quick,
Kate
quick to
is
call
saying, I
names.
never met more judgmental people than in AA. We have a couple more comments up here. Oh, what is up? Rick is in the house. Good morning, Rick. Here, Carrie. Except for me, I was resentful, so I guess I'm a resentful old timer. Y'all are the resentful old timers. I love it. I don't. What do we consider? Let us know in the comments. What do you consider an old timer in your mind? What's the threshold for an old timer? It's so funny. I had this AA boyfriend once, and we figured out an equation that made sense to us, where it was like it had to do a combination of how old you are in biologically, or like I mean in the actual human years, and then how long you've been in AA. Like you couldn't be an old timer if you were 40 and had been in there 20 years, but maybe if you were 60 and been in there 20, like there was some sort of, I don't know, it was complete bananas bill shittery, but we thought
Right.
we had a formula. So I'd say Carrie at 30, I'd consider you 36 years. I'd consider that an old timer. I'm 16. To me, I'm like, is that an old timer? I don't really think so, but could
I
be.
mean, if you think about the statistics of staying in AA, if you stay longer than 5 or 10 years, I would say you're an old timer.
Maybe even 1 year. If you look at
Yeah,
the
maybe even
stats.
1 year. If you look at the stats, for sure. For
Oh my
sure.
God. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Jeb asks, have any steppers recognized you on the street or hassled either of you? Respect. I love it. I've only been recognized twice in public where they actually said, I know you from YouTube. Once it happened in Bali, and it was like a long time ago too, when my YouTube channel was even smaller. And someone said, I watch your anxiety videos on YouTube. I was like, oh, and I kind of like was like thrown off, right? And she's like, no, they're really helpful. I like your meditation or like whatever. I was like, oh, okay, great, thanks. Like awkward. Then the second time I was recognized, I was like, I had just got to Peru. We had taken the a boat up the Amazon River. We were going to do ayahuasca at this little retreat center with a shaman and everything. And as soon as we walked into the retreat center right off the Amazon in Peru in Iquitos, this guy there that was on the ayahuasca retreat said, I watch your YouTube channel. I was like, oh, he's like, you're a sobriety bestie. I was like, oh shit, busted at the ayahuasca retreat. He was like,
That's
no,
crazy.
but he had come to the retreat to do ayahuasca to attempt to see if that would help him with whatever was making him drink so much. So I was like, right on, dude. So that was cool. What about you, Carrie? Have you been recognized on the street as a rogue AA dissenter, old timer, resentful?
Well, something that happened right after I dissented and left AA is that my wife and I left the city and moved into the country. So I kind of
Mm,
put a buffer in between me and the AA people that I ran around with. I don't run in the same circles. I don't go to the same grocery store anymore. Not
mm,
that I ever saw most of them anywhere other than at an AA function or an AA meeting. But
yeah.
I will have to admit that I do often dread running into them and seeing that their little self-righteous, self-pity look in their eyes when they talk to me. And I have had one AA member at a dance competition that we were both at kind of give me some shit. He was the husband of my very culty sponsor. And so I just knew what he was thinking without even him having to say anything. I could tell. But otherwise, no. And I have to admit that that's still a lingering fear of mine, or just it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. It's getting better and easier every day, not to worry about running into those people, because today I don't really care, and I know I'm not going to die, and I haven't drank and went to a crazy house or anything. So I'm not so worried about it.
Yeah.
And really, when nobody came for me after I left, I thought, I'm just invisible. I guess when you're 64 and lesbian and you move to the country, no matter how much sobriety you have, nobody cares if you're gone.
That's so funny. I actually feel relieved being out where I felt more uncomfortable the 5 years between when I left AA in April 2020 to April 2025 when I first started speaking out about AA. By the way, I love that you found me right when I came out of the I left AA
Hmm.
closet and it's a harmful group. That's so cool
Yep.
that that we kind of connected. I remember you emailed me right away that we've been connected like
Hmm.
the whole past year.
Yep.
Um, but I actually feel relieved, meaning that if I walk around and I see anybody that I know from AA, I feel like the cat's out of the bag. You're not going to
Yeah.
ask me what meetings am I going to. I don't have to tell
Right.
you that I
Hmm.
left and I think it's harmful. You're just going to keep your distance or you're going to be cool. So the self-selection is on. Like come in, come out, but you know who I am. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to fake it. You can love me, you can hate me. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be fake. AA was a
Right.
harmful cult religion that I left 6 years ago. And I've,
Hmm.
for the past year, been actively helping people regain their fucking sanity and their mind and their life after AA. And I'm proud of that.
Right.
And if you don't like that, you can go fuck yourself. And if you like that, let's be friends. But I don't have to pretend. Whereas,
Hmm.
before I came out of I left AA closet and breaking my anonymity online, I felt really uncomfortable. I saw this woman from AA in Costco and I like ran into a different aisle because I was like, I don't want her to come up to me because she's going to say, what meetings are you going to? And I don't want to have that conversation and either lie or tell her I left. I was like, ah. So I just feel relieved. I'm like, I can walk down the street and look anyone in the eyes. What is that? The fifth step promises.
Well, coming out of the closet isn't new for me. So I know what it's like to be afraid of being shunned and shamed and rejected. So it was, it was not my first rodeo, but it was different because I was so young. I was 29 when I started in AA, and I was in my 60s when I left, or late 50s. So it was my whole life. I didn't know any different, Kirsten. I never challenged it. I never questioned it. I just thought, this is it. This is what I got to do. It colored my whole world. Everything was, I looked at everything through that AA lens. My conversations, negotiations, all my relationships were based on, and I thought that the AA way and the way we spoke and the things we believed, I thought it was so universal that it should be practiced everywhere. I brought it into everything that I did, So when I left, it was like, okay, so now, if I'm not an AA sponsor, if I'm not an AA speaker, if I'm not running a conference or going to the jails or the prisons or being of service, then what the fuck am I? I mean, it's hard to leave. And I know I heard your talk with Victor, and I like, I have to laugh because Victor would have been somebody that I would have hated in AA. I mean, I would have hated him because I might not have hated him when he was trying to get sober, but he's somebody that just kept coming
Judged
back
him.
in.
You would
I
have
would
had
have
that
judged him.
judgment. This is
I would have
Quackaholics
judged him.
Anonymous we're talking about
Yes.
here, who is our
Yes.
beloved fellow dissenter. All hail the Quacky.
Woo! I love him. I love him today. But honestly, I knew people like him, and it was frustrating, and I would judge them, and I wasn't very nice always. I mean, I'd like to say I was nice and I might have been nice to their face, but I would have slammed it like, why can't they get this? Why are they just coming in and out? Why can't they just stay sober? I mean, I was so judgmental. I mean, not throughout my whole sobriety, but when I got in with the really culty AA groups, the cult within the cult, then I was so much more judgmental. And I can remember people coming around, questioning the ideology, questioning the meetings, saying they didn't believe in God, saying they didn't know if they really were an alcoholic. And I was just like, man, you got to get with the program. We don't really want you here if you can't speak our language. We'll tolerate you for a while, but you got to get on board. If you want what we have, you have to do what we do, or you're going to drink and die, dude. So yeah, I love him. I love his honesty. I love the fact that he's just an angry man with an opinion, and he's not afraid to say it. You know, for so long, it wasn't okay to be angry or have an opinion. So I
Yeah.
love that he's not afraid to do that. And the other thing is, Tara, you know what? Here's another thing I'm not judging about it. I don't give a fuck if you're smoking pot anymore. I don't care if you do ayahuasca or psilocybin or mushrooms. What do I care? I even told my mom, who has a history of drinking too much, who lives with me, I told her, much to her relief, you know, Mom, I don't care if you drink. If you want to drink here, get a drink. You're 88. Just drink. If you know what, it was a problem when we were growing up, and it interfered with raising me, and I didn't get the attention I needed because you might be drinking. But now I don't really care. I
Yeah,
just
and
want you to
someone should have
enjoy
gave
your
Bill
life.
Wilson someone should have gave Bill Wilson that drink on his deathbed. If he really asked for a
Yes.
drink, then we need to like, we should shun, shame, and silence the one who wouldn't give him a drink. We should
Yes.
throw just
We
kidding.
should. Well, they even have a saying in my neck of the woods: if you die sober, then you made the program. You made the program. Like I don't know what that means, but that's what they would say. If somebody died sober, they made the program.
Can
If
we
they
put that
died
on a
and
tombstone?
seriously, if they died and they were drinking, then they just didn't get it. They didn't work hard enough. They didn't do it. It didn't work for them because they didn't work it. I'm like, give me a fucking break, people.
Can you imagine if
You
it said
know,
on your tombstone, died sober? That was the friend
somebody,
of Bill.
I
Can you put
guarantee you,
friend of Bill?
somebody has that.
Friend
Somebody
of
has that
Bill
on.
died sober.
I'm
Okay,
sure somebody has that.
let's look at some of these guys. Kate says, so relatable, both being scared and being chased down by steppers and being kind of
Mhm.
disappointed that no one cared. It showed the true colors. Yeah.
Yes.
And we got a Lambert. Woohoo. I see y'all live and in the house. Let's see. And we got Mr. Pug. What's up, Mr. Pug? It is tea time, isn't it? I noticed that some people were very judgmental of anyone who they thought weren't doing recovery the right way. Totally. And that's why I think Victor's message is it makes me emotional to think about all the people that Victor Quackaholics Anonymous can reach that I never could, because he was so, in my opinion, after hearing his story and after talking to him for hours, probably 5 hours total in our podcast that we've done. The last one was 2.5 hours that we did. We just kept talking. We both we kind of have to pee. His phone was dying. We kept vibing.
I know.
But in my perspective from hearing his story, he was just so relentlessly abused in Alcoholics Anonymous. People telling him all the time, you're going to die and you're going to be the example. We're waiting for you to die. And just to hear that over and over and over again, the shame and everything, and so I just feel like that's so powerful because he's not the only one that experienced that. And so for him to be able to leave AA and finally get sober after AA and then speak about that, I feel like if anything, I feel like he's the one that's saving lives, because how many people are hearing that you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die every day, and they're not here anymore. I mean, let's just Woosan, let me come back. Whew, I'm going to take myself into a little tear puddle over here. Okay, so Lambert says, absolutely, they work great for type A personalities. Do it my way or you suck. Yeah. Says, I was not groomed personally, but I think they are hammers that are looking for nails when they adopt the teachings. Yeah, that is a great analogy. Everybody is a sick. That's because when I got there, they were I was like, I'm not an alcoholic. That's a bad word. Y'all can keep your little branded term there. And they're like, oh, why don't you read the chapter in the back of the book called Crossing the River of Denial? You should look up denial in the dictionary. And I'm like, fucking asshole. Yeah, so everything's a nail. Everything is an untreated alcoholic, even if you say you're not. Kate, never met more gentle people. Oh, we saw that one. Yeah, definitely. Martin says AA is suffocating intellectually. Hello from Ireland. What's up, Ireland? Ireland in the house. You want to read some of these?
They were judgmental towards newcomers too. You're diseased and dying. You can't be trusted. For sure. For sure. What I was told when I got to AA was, you don't have anything to contribute. Just shut up. Take the cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth, or take the cotton out of your mouth, put it in your ears. No, take a cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth. Don't speak. Just listen. And you know what? I told the women I sponsored that for years. You don't have anything, especially if you just came back from a relapse. You just got to be quiet.
Yeah. So Carrie, I think the best way to do the comments is to read who it's from and then read what the comment is, because I will be tossing this up on the audio version of Kirsten Johnson podcast. Then the audio listeners, what's up, audio listeners? If you want to chime in, come to the YouTube video and leave your comment below. Let us know what you think. Are you dissenting? Are you deprogramming? Did you leave AA? What do you think? Are you feeling the urge to speak up? We want to know all the things that you want to share.
Okay, well, I'll read what Mr. Pug says here. Mr. Pug 7300, I feel I was groomed by the recovery house I was in. The whole Milu met my basic human needs for a place to live, affiliation with the group, attachment, and emotional support and belonging. Absolutely. Absolutely. But those needs were conditional on me doing recovery the way they expected to me. I worked at a treatment house. I worked in a treatment center. Absolutely. You had to do what we told you to do if you wanted to stay there. Always.
Yeah.
So we did groom them.
I like this one from Rick. It's all Kirsten's fault. She provokes AA members. You know what is so funny? It's like I left AA, or I started dissenting April, so like a year ago this month, and I reposted the video that I originally posted April 6th, 2025. I posted it 1 year later, April 6th, 2026, which is my 6-year leaving AA anniversary, 1 year dissenting, whatever. I don't need to tie all these dates back to AA, but anyway, it was so funny because a year later, what I said, I was so like apologetic and not wanting to step on toes. And I had a disclaimer in the beginning of the video. And I was like you could tell that I was like kind of visibly kind of timid in the video versus now. Now I'm like, it's a cult. But then I was like, if you're in AA, please don't watch this. I don't want you to hear anything I'm about to say. Only watch this if you left AA. Like, so apologetic and so scared. I was terrified to do that first video. And now I just say what I actually think. So you know who I am. And if I'm not for you, keep scrolling. And if I'm not for you and you can't stand it, yeah, ad hominem away. I think Rick is actually the one who taught me how to say ad hominem. I was saying ad hominem. And Blue Butterfly, if you're watching Blue Butterfly, you're the one who taught me to look up ad hominem in the first place. But yeah, it's a lot of ad hominem attacks. And so if you're gonna dissent, if you're gonna speak out about AA online in any capacity, even in the comments, because I didn't do that for 5 years. I didn't write any comment about anything about AA or leaving AA. That is a normal reaction. It's like if you throw a ball in the air, it's gonna hit the ground. If you speak out about AA online, you're most likely guaranteed almost to get ad hominem back at you, meaning they're going to attack you, your character, something about you, whether you're a resentful old timer, whether you had a bad experience, or you're smoking, you're not even sober, whatever. That is the reaction you'll get back. So I think the reason why I provoke AA members, one of them, is because I'm unapologetic about what I see as the truth. I'm not trying to, honestly. If I had my way, AA members would never ever see anything that I post. I would prefer that. It would be great. But not only do they see it, and I actually think this is, I mean, between me and you and the live stream, I actually think it's a bit nefarious, potentially, of Facebook. I wonder what the algorithm is coded to, because all of a sudden, starting in December, my Facebook has gone crazy. For context, what I mean, like, my Facebook has gone crazy. By the way, it's linked below this YouTube video if you're on the live stream, if you want to see more where my Facebook is. But it's gone completely crazy, where the video that I posted a year ago probably got 1,000 views on it. I don't know. I never really looked. Maybe a couple hundred. I don't know. But the video that I put, the same exact video, but a worse copy, because I put the wrong version, the version that doesn't have the photos and the words, and like the non edited final version, like the draft I posted. So I posted the wrong version, and it got over 100,000 views in 24 hours. That's bananas. And by the way, that has nothing to do with me. That is not about me. That is about this message. In my opinion, I feel like this message is ready to be heard. There's going to be a shift in public consciousness, which is what I see is probably happening, where we're going to have our Me Too moment in the recovery world, where we realize that this system is harmful, so be warned. The same way that cigarettes have a warning, AA will have a warning. Yeah, if you really want to go, fine. I mean, I smoked cigarettes knowing they were harmful. Go to AA knowing it's harmful, fine. But can we just know it's harmful and not attack the people who say it? So, and now there's like something like, I don't know, way even more than that. So there's, I think the AA members are the one that's also driving the message being sent to the people leaving AA. So it's kind of weird. It's like, I think Facebook is sending, they find something controversial, right? And so whether it's politics or leaving AA or whatever, and they'll push the content to people that are on the other side of the fence to create this anger in the comments. So then you have people emotionally triggered who are getting kind of hooked, if you will, on coming back to the keep coming back to the comments. So it's driving engagement. And then a lot of people were saying things to me like, I don't like how there was a commercial every 4 minutes on your video. And I was like, bro, I had no idea Facebook put commercials on videos. They're like, you're monetizing your video. I'm like, first of all, why can't I monetize my work? Go fuck yourself. But second of all, I'm not, and I didn't know that was happening. Facebook is sending my video to people who aren't going to like it, getting them hooked. And there's a comment battle from people who AI can read the context of the video, and it's sending it to people who love AA, and then it's getting all this engagement. So they're selling more ad space. So Facebook is making more money from this. So I don't know if it's actually nefarious, but I'm thinking, why the heck is it going to 100,000 people in a day, where it used to be a couple hundred in a day?
Right.
The same video, the same exact video. So I think, number one, I think there's a public awareness coming up, like a Me Too moment. And two, I wonder if Facebook has moved more into like a TikTok kind of a model versus like, I don't know, YouTube seems still like, YouTube is fine. Y'all are great commenters, and there's nothing wrong with scrolling on if you don't like what you see,
Right.
So I think it's a great time for people who want to dissent, because there really is a market or an audience or a desire, a thirst for people to be validated and supported and to hear about, and maybe that's also why some of the AA members are getting even more scared or feeling threatened, because more and more people are wanting to talk about their experience of leaving AA and the liberation they're getting from getting it out of their head. So something is in the air right now, and it has nothing to do with me, but it's like the same piece of content, like a worse version, like 100x. Like, what is happening right now? Are we about to have our Me Too moment? And if so, if we're about to have our Me Too moment in the recovery world where we can have informed consent, what would that be called?
That's a good question. I don't know. Me too. I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that one. But I do believe that it's coming to a head. I mean, I do believe that. Oh, here we go. Oh God, this was Michael Henderson, 1861. Oh God, a genuine hashtag Me Too movement in 12-step would destroy 12-step forever. You're right. You're right. It would. And especially since there is 13 stepping and sexual abuse that happens in meetings, which is a whole another area of harm that AA does, for sure. I think that first year when I was quietly dissenting, I think that that's what other people are doing too. So I'm kind of grateful that this is getting sent out to more AA members, because like, it's planting a seed. I think we're planting a seed. I feel kind of like this quiet warrior. I mean, I'm pretty much standing alone here. One of the other things that surprisingly happened after I came out as dissenting is that on the down low and in secret, some other women came out too and said, yeah, I'm going to leave. You've given me the courage to leave. You're saying everything I've been thinking. And then I had a woman call me the other day, someone I had sponsored in the early 2000s. And she said, I've seen some of the Sobriety Bestie podcast, and I've read some of your Substack, and I'm still in AA, still active in AA, 26 years sober, just celebrated 26 years. And I'm thinking about leaving, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid to leave. I mean, that's what I hear a lot of people say. I'm afraid to leave. Also, if I leave, who are my friends going to be? You know, who am I going to hang out with? Who am I going to go to coffee with? Who are my friends if I'm not in AA? And that was me too. You know, I thought
Yeah.
that too. Who are my friends going to be? There's a lot of people out there. You can make new friends. Trust me. Yeah.
Green Mountain Mama, what is up? Great to have you here live. Says the algorithm is designed to incite anger because it increases engagement. That's what it kind of felt like. It kind of felt like to me that they tweaked their algorithm around December to make it even more that way because of what I was getting. It went from like I'd say my YouTube is like 95% people that actually are like craving this kind of a content, want the validation, the support, whatever, and 5% haterade or people that are the ad hominem stuff. And I'd say Facebook is like almost the opposite. Facebook is like 90% like like AA members who really want me to stop posting, and then 10% people who are actually on their deprogramming journey. It's weird. I'm like, what is the algorithm over here doing? And then when people blame me for it, I'm like, bro, I'm on my side of the street. Like, are you blaming me for your algorithm? I thought there was my business, your business, and God's business, right? Wasn't that part of the indoctrination?
Yes, absolutely.
So here's I thought our Me Too moment could be called safe recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Or something else, but that kind of works, right? Because that's what we want. We want safe recovery.
Yeah.
Which
I
means
like it.
you can leave.
Right. So you want to read that one?
Sure. AA Floozy says, I'm so glad I found you. I really feel like an asshole for being creeped out by how my partner seemed programmed. He feels I'm wanting to hurt his sobriety. Yeah, it's so hard. I have so much empathy for that. It's a hard place to be for sure. Yeah.
It is.
I'm glad you're here too, because I mean, I hope some of this kind of conversation helps you feel a little bit validated. I really feel like and I don't mean this in like, I mean this like when a kid closes their eyes and thinks their mommy isn't there, but the mommy can see them. I feel like that's what it is when you recognize that somebody is kind of inside a system. It's like you can see that they're in a system, but they can't see they're in a system and that you're not. And so, or the better way to say it is like if you speak, like I speak Indonesian and English, but you only speak English. It's like if I'm speaking, like, you know what I mean? Like there's a disconnect in the language, and there's almost like a responsibility or a awareness when you can see that somebody doesn't get it and they're not going to get it because they're in an ideology. They've been indoctrinated into a system. They're in a cult, basically. And yeah, so I have a lot of empathy for where you're at right now. And also, I have a lot of empathy for people who are in the AA mindset or fully indoctrinated as true believers in the AA ideology. That was me, you know? And so I get it. And I get that I have so much empathy, meaning I can really see how you would be mad and angry at a dissenter and you would call it things like bashing. You would call it anti-AA. I'm not anti-AA. The ironic thing about the basher label is that like the ideology is constructed in our mind like a building, right? And then to get rid of it, we deconstruct it. And so, okay, bashing it, and you think about like a wrecking ball, you do need to bash it away. It's not bashing as a bad thing. It's bash your way to freedom. Like if you want to say the word bash, okay, I can get into bash, but it's bashing to freedom because there's baloney in your head, Bill Oni in your head. Yeah.
It's hard to get there though. I can still remember all the light bulb moments when I started to get it, when I started to deconstruct and not be a true believer. The same woman who called me that has 26 years and is struggling kind of with AA has a girlfriend who is well educated, lovely, smart woman. When she drinks too much, doesn't want to go to AA, is talking to my friend about doing the Sinclair method and going to a therapist. And my friend's like, I don't know how I feel about that. Of course, I know how you feel about that because pretty much I taught you how to feel about that as your sponsor. Anything other than AA is not going to work. It's just the easier, softer way. Don't let her take the easier, softer way. The only way to get sober is to surrender your will and find a higher power and go to AA for the rest of your life. And she even told me, she's like, my girlfriend who wants to do the Sinclair method told me, you're just afraid of everything. And she said, I am afraid of everything. And I said, that is the fear. That's the secret sauce of AA, by the way, is instilling fear and phobias. That's the secret sauce of any cult. And that's what my friend is experiencing with her girlfriend who wants to do Sinclair method. I said she should go for it. And if you really want to be with her, then let her. I mean,
yeah. So we got 48 KHZ 24-bit hashtag. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Y'all in the comments have like given the best words ever that I'm obsessed with. I did not make any of these up, but we got bullshit, Bill Boozled. I mean, so good. True Bill Ever. I'm like, yes, I'm loving it. And there's another one. Oh, Bill Loney. Because I would always say in my videos, it's baloney. And someone's like, it's Bill Loney. I'm like, oh my God, it is so good. It's just nice to bring a little bit of the humor to it. I mean, it really does suck to realize that you were conned or played. I felt like I was conned for 10 years. I felt dumb. I felt stupid. I felt like, how did I believe all this bullshit? And like, so to bring some humor to it, you know, it kind of, I don't know. I think it's good to laugh. And we have a Carrie lover in the house. Aren't we all Carrie lovers? I'm so happy. Jen says, I'm so happy to see Carrie. Yeah. And Kate says 12-step survivor. Jen says, you have replaced meetings and I can see you're helping me heal. Thank God you do this. God bless you. I'm so glad to hear that you're healing. Yeah. And then we have Rosie says, this is so refreshing. So if we're going to get back to some of our dissenting questions, Carrie, we've had fun vibing in the comments, but I want to know, before you spoke out, what were you most afraid of would happen?
Well, I think I already said that. I was for sure that people were going to come and kidnap me and try to talk me into not leaving AA. In fact, this is the truth. I used to fantasize about moving away and not telling anybody I was an alcoholic. And it's almost like going into witness protection. I mean, if you have to think about going into witness protection to get out of a program, then that's not healthy. That's like the cartel or something. I mean, honestly, I would say to my wife, maybe we just got to move to New Mexico and not tell anybody I'm an alcoholic, so I don't have to do all this stuff. It's kind of like the same way I used to think the only way I was ever going to get a girlfriend is if I joined the military or went to prison. I didn't know that there was other places that I could go. So I thought I just going to have to relocate.
I'm dying. So funny. Oh my God. I'm like laughing so hard. I'm crying. You're so funny. Witness protection program to escape AA.
Seriously. But even when I would think about doing that, I would be full of fear because I would think, well, I'm only lying to myself and then I'll drink. So I couldn't even trust my own thinking, even though it made sense to me to leave. Jen's dying.
Yeah, I'm dying. I feel like am I okay? Like it's too much for my body. It's so good.
So it was, it was scary to the extent. And like I said, in the beginning, it was, oh, Carrie's hilarious. Love you too, Jen. So yeah, I mean, and this who I am is who I was in AA. Like when I stood at a podium, I was funny and I had fun. And I loved being at a podium and telling my story and making people laugh and making people cry and making people relate to what I had to say. And all that I got out of that. And when you leave AA, you will lose that. I mean, I lost a lot of that respect that I had from my peers. I lost that camaraderie. I lost, just those good feelings and the accolades. And I had to just figure, I got to give those to myself now, and that they were fake anyway, not fake necessarily, but that was harmful. I was saying the same stuff that they were saying. So I was just passing on the propaganda and, passing on the message instead of the mess and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
What part has been the hardest for you about speaking out?
well, fear, a lot of fear. I left for good in 2021, in the fall of 2021. I have a friend, Dr. Samantha Cooper, had a podcast about spirituality, and she invited me to speak. And so I was talking about spirituality, and I got into talking about leaving AA. And I talked about how I didn't feel it was necessary anymore, and how I'd left, and how I didn't feel powerless, or like my life was all that stuff. And then right before it was supposed to air, I called her and begged her not to post it. I'm like, don't air that. I'm too afraid. I was just so afraid at that time of what my AA friends, even though I hadn't been going to AA for a while, I was just too afraid. I was afraid of coming out and saying that in public. I thought, what will happen? What will happen to me? And what if I'm wrong? That's the other thing. I thought,
Mm.
what if I'm wrong and AA is right? What if I am just self will run riot? What if I am just fooling myself? And the good
Mhm.
part about the whole deprogramming and dissenting is, I started out there in that first phase full of fear and doing it mostly internal. The truth is, most all of this battle, Kirsten, of dissenting for me has been internal in my head.
Yeah.
Nothing else has really happened. It's all been in my head where they put that crap, where AA put that crap for over 30 years. So when I got out, when I got over the fear, and then I started doing all of the awareness, like light bulbs going on, light bulbs, and all that fun stuff that you and I did, and speaking up and speaking out and coming to all those conclusions,
Yeah.
and then deciding that AA is just a fucking cult, and then finding that freedom, and then you find the freedom. But I had to go through all of that. I had
Yeah.
to go through all of that to get to the freedom piece.
We deprogrammed together too. Like I remember like by the who I was when I started our September podcast, which was about deprogramming from sobriety, birthdays, and sober time,
Mhm.
to who I was by the end of that 2 hours or however long we were recording before the edit. I had a whole different like mindset. I had a whole shift that happened during unpacking it with you. I mean, we made
Yes.
it fun. I was
Mhm.
16 years sober, so I wore my 16 years, sweet 16 like banner. We had fun. We had tiaras and
Mhm.
all that. But like by the end of that podcast, we deconstructed, like deprogrammed in real time together through a lot of our
Yes.
conversations. I was like, oh, I'm seeing this differently now. I have a bit more
Mhm.
freedom here around it. And I might not ever celebrate a sober birthday again. Just like I
Right.
don't celebrate, I literally don't know what year I stopped drinking soda. Like, I mean, because it doesn't fucking matter. It's not a big deal. Like, it doesn't,
Right.
I have no idea what. Well, no, I do know when I quit smoking cigarettes. It was April 2010. I remember because I had my last cigarette at San Francisco International Airport right before I boarded a flight to go to India for my first time. It was a really long flight. When I got there, I'm like, well, I'm 24 hours with no cigarette. Maybe I should go another day, and I didn't smoke there for a lot of reasons. It's a whole nother topic. But I do know when, but I've never celebrated once my cigarette
No.
sobriety
No.
day. Why do I need to tie myself to how AA defines our worthiness? Like
Right.
our status in the hierarchy. I was like, no. So by the time we finished that podcast and talking back and forth, now look, you don't need to dissent in order to get the unlocks in your deprogramming journey if you are
Right.
deprogramming from AA. But having a conversation with somebody else who's deprogramming can be that unlock. Or listening to conversations or listening to people talking about it can be that unlock. Listening to Carrie and I talk about sobriety time and sober birthdays, which was, we would have released it, September 29th. Oh, we released it on my
Mhm.
16th sober birthday,
Yes.
September 29th, 2025, if you want to look that up. If you want to deconstruct from sober time, watch that. It might unlock some
Mhm.
things for you. So you don't have to dissent in order to get the freedom. But
No.
being like, for me, hearing other people's thoughts is really helpful. Being around other
Mhm.
critical thinkers and using what I hear other people say to really open up more of my own critical thinking or to examine more
Yes.
things, it's a big freedom unlocker for me. So dissenting
Totally.
has opened up a lot, but you don't need to do it. I'm wondering,
No.
speaking of that, Carrie, our next question here in our
Yes.
prepared question list,
Okay.
what opened up in your life because you spoke out?
Well, one of them is, I think I've already talked about, becoming less judgmental, learning to become less judgmental. And also those secret women that secretly contacted me and said, you did it, I'm going to do it too. And I think, so dissent is taking a stand. And I've always been someone who takes a stand for what I believe. I haven't been afraid to speak up, about what I believe. And especially if something is wrong or somebody is harming someone or a system is harmful, protesting and marching. But, dissenting for me, it's like taking a stand, and you don't have to take a stand. I mean, I think that's the thing. If you just want to leave and not tell anybody, you don't owe anybody an explanation. If you just want to leave and go on with your life, and if somebody asks you, just say, I'm not doing that anymore. I mean, you don't have to take a stand against AA, or you don't have to take a stand against the system. But I'm dissenting, and I'll always be dissenting. I will never, and I'm knock on wood, let another program define my life. I'm going to be a lifelong
100%.
dissenter. I'm so aware today.
Hey, everybody, this is so fun. This comment I'm seeing here. This is at AA Failure. It looks like a new YouTube channel coming up. Is that what I'm seeing here? Let us know, AA Failure. Great to have you here. Love it. I'll be making videos soon. Been super busy. Have you made any videos yet, or are you just starting? And Carrie, I guess, what would be your advice for somebody who's just starting to create deprogramming AA or leaving AA content? What would have helped you in the beginning?
Oh, well, you helped me, of course, but that was not the beginning. I had been out of AA for a while. What I was searching for, and I didn't find Quackaholics or anybody else. I didn't find those sources. I just wanted somebody to say to me, it's okay. You're going to be okay. You can leave and you won't drink or die. And if you think that you still need support not to drink, go to a therapist, go to Smart Recovery, do something else. I mean, I just needed somebody just to say, it's okay, you can leave. And when I left, I didn't hate AA. I don't hate AA today, but I wasn't like saying it was a cult. I didn't leave because I was angry or somebody hurt me.
But what would but what would your advice be for somebody who's dissenting, not leaving?
Dissenting but not leaving AA?
Well, no. You just gave advice for somebody who's leaving AA, which is super valid and great.
Yes.
But this person said they'll be making videos soon. So the advice that you would have for somebody who's speaking out about AA, which is very different than somebody who's leaving AA. So what advice would you have for yourself who was about to publish that first Substack? What would you want to tell that version of you about dissenting?
Yes. Okay. I understand the question now. Sorry. I would say just be fearless. You're just going to have to be fearless. And nothing's probably going to even happen. And if it does, you're not going to die. I mean, it's not going to kill you to speak out. And there will be people that will hate you for it, and there'll be people that'll thank you for it. And it's just like anything. When you make a decision and you speak out against something that everybody stands for, like the earth is round, perhaps, people are going to call you crazy, and people are going to, bash you in different ways. But you just got to, in AA, they used to say you had to get service skin. If you did a lot of service work, you had to get service skin and be like a duck and just let all the criticism roll off of you. And you just got to get that. You got to get like service skin, I guess. And just, the truth is that the speaking out against the harm in AA today is more important to me than somebody not liking me or somebody calling me a name. I just don't care.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like when you see something the world yet hasn't accepted as normal or culturally like what truth is or whatever, it makes me think about, I don't know if anybody saw that documentary. I loved it. It was so good, about President Garfield on Netflix. I definitely recommend it. And he basically died because his doctor, which would have been one of the best doctors maybe in the world at the time, the doctor to the American president would be a top doctor, right? Because you would want the leader of your country to have top medical service. but he didn't wear gloves and he didn't wash his hands, and he put his hands in Garfield's back after he was shot to pull the bullet out, right? And somebody else was saying, hey, bro, like germs. And he's like, oh, you think there's invisible make-believe little bugs? Yeah, whatever. And then really what, because on the autopsy, they saw that the bullet didn't actually hit any vital organs. He could have survived most likely and lived fine with the bullet where it was inside of his body. And that what he most likely died of was like the sepsis and like the
Right.
reaction to these invisible, because bacteria wasn't widely known yet. I mean, doctors were doing like autopsies and then going and delivering a baby without washing their hands or wearing gloves. A lot of babies are dying. And so it took decades for mainstream to catch up with this whole idea of things that you can't see can kill you. And
Right.
yeah, it sounds bananas, but or the world is like the sun is rotating, like the sun is the center, or we're the center, or like it takes a while for mainstream to catch up and for
Well,
and so I
was
think
going to
that's where we're
say,
at, right?
oh, yes, go ahead. I think it's
I
where we're
think
at right now.
right with
I
recovery.
agree. I think so too. It just reminded me when you were talking about the infection. Of course, I'm a retired registered nurse. And when I first started working as a nurse in a small public hospital in 1983, we still smoked. The nurses smoked at the nurses station. We lit patients' cigarettes. Smoking was everywhere. I smoked. Everybody smoked. And I remember when the hospital a few years later decided they were going to go non-smoking, and I remember saying, nobody will come here if they can't smoke, and now you can't smoke anywhere. So I mean, things have to change. They have to change, and people have to grow, and that's why AA, you just stay stagnant in there. You don't ever get to grow. I love following my intuition. I love trusting myself again. I love not having to do something if I don't want to do it.
Yeah. One thing I want to bring up too, for anybody who's watching and wants to dissent or is thinking about speaking out or even just speaking honestly to their old sponsor or old fellowship or whatever. Carrie, when we were talking about doing this live stream together, and we chit chatted on the phone for like 30 minutes or whatever, you said something around you were surprised at the, I guess, in general, your experience with dissenting has been fairly positive compared to maybe what you see in my comment section. And
For
I would
sure.
love it for you to speak about just how your experience has been for you to put yourself out there through your Substack blog.
Right. Honestly, it's been like crickets. I don't get a lot of pushback. I haven't had phone calls. I haven't had negative comments. If people are thinking something, they're not saying it. And only people who are curious will ask me questions about it. And I mean, it was just kind of anticlimactic, really. I was prepared for a battle. I was all ready. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna dissent, and I'm gonna take a stand, and I'm going to have to fight for my freedom. I didn't have to do anything. The battle was all in my head, Kirsten. It was all in my head. Nobody cared. I mean, people might have cared, but they didn't say anything. They didn't do anything. So that's been the difference for me. Even though I spoke out on Substack, and even though I reposted like your videos, the videos you and I did on Facebook, nobody commented on it. I don't know. I mean, maybe nobody reads my stuff. Maybe nobody watches what I don't think even my own children have watched. Sometimes I'll ask them, did you read what I wrote? Because you're in it. No, I haven't had time. They don't, nobody cares.
Yeah.
But,
So you've had
so
a
I mean,
positive.
I've had a positive experience. Only the people really who agree with me or want to know more, uh, who are curious, even people who've never been to AA but like know about AA have asked me about it, and I've had an opportunity to start conversations about the harm of AA that and tell them things they had no idea. Because if you
Yeah.
don't go to AA, you have no idea. All you know is what you see on TV or what maybe somebody tells you, you know. And so they all think it's a wonderful program. They don't know any different.
Yeah. So we've done, I think this is our 8th podcast together, and you've done your Substack over the past year. I know that I don't know all the stats because I don't really look at them, even though I have an advanced degree in statistics. I don't really focus on the stats. I focus on the conversations. But I know that the first video that we did together, because I sent a screenshot to you, there's over like 5,000 views on you telling your story of leaving AA. How does it feel to know that you've impacted so many people? And sometimes I'll screenshot a comment and send it to you, or tell you about someone saying something. I relate with Carrie's story, the resentful old timer. You don't seem resentful at all in our videos, but anyway. And how does it feel to know that you've put your neck out there on the chopping block, and not only did you not get your neck chopped off, but that there's been thousands of people that you've impacted through just sharing your story?
It's really emotional because it's, it was hard, and it hasn't always been easy, and it was scary. And, I mean, if I always said to myself, if even one person, if it makes a difference for one person, then I'll have done something, so it means a lot to me. It really does. And if I can just instill doubt in even one true believer, then I've done my job.
That's so funny. I feel like if I can validate one escapee, then that's what's worth it. Yeah, but good for you. I love that. Yeah, and because it's the purpose is what drives. For me, it's the purpose which is what has allowed me to show up despite the naysayers and the trolls, or my fears, the resistance, internal or external, if you will. It's the purpose. It's being
Right.
who I needed when nobody was there for me. Meaning when I left AA, I
Yes.
couldn't find people who I understood the anger, and I was angry at the time, but I wanted to find somebody who wasn't angry anymore to tell me how they got to that place where they were kind of resolved. They were through AA, they left AA, and they were in a good way now. I couldn't find any voices like that where they had worked through all of the fuckery of leaving AA.
Right.
And so that was part of my motivation, was like, I want to be that, because it wasn't there. And there's a lot of us. And the more that I've spoken out over the past year, the more like I've gotten DMs, emails, messages, comments, whatever. And there's a lot of us. In fact, 95% of the people who go to AA bounce, or more. So there's a lot of us. There's more of us out here than in there in the first place. And a lot of us who have left AA, and I'm really glad that we found deprogramming too, that for those of us that did, because there's a lot of people that leave AA and don't do any deprogramming, and they're still living with the ideology in their head, and I consider that. I mean, the more I've like picked it apart and really looked at it, really looked deeply and gone down the science rabbit holes, the propaganda rabbit holes, AA mythological origin story, and all of that, pseudoscience, the more that I've woken up, the more that I've gotten free, and the more that I'm so grateful that I'm not living with that in my head. This idea that I can't trust my thinking, this idea that I need the engineered dependency, where Bill says in his own voice, you can watch the movie, where he says that he's specifically created AA so that first the newcomer is dependent upon the sponsor, then the group, and then a higher power. So to deprogram from the dependency, from all the ways that I would say disables our thinking, by making us not trust ourselves and not think critically and be stuck in a group think. And I'm glad that I'm not living the rest of my life without not knowing that I'm living in AA ideology, even though I left. And there's a lot of people that are, in my perception, my assumption, which is how horrible of me to assume. But when somebody is coming at me hard with the ad hominem stuff in the comments, and they're like, I left AA, it was fine, you asshole, whatever, da da da. I'm like, this person probably still has AA ideology in their head. They don't see that it's harmful. They haven't gotten rid of it yet. And they don't need to. I don't know the way for anybody else. Like, you know what I mean? I just got to trust myself. But I think a lot of people leave and never do the deprogramming work. And I think for me, that would have been a mistake, because there's a lot of freedom when you get Bill's ideas out of your head, and you can start vibing with your own fucking ideas.
So much freedom. And it really adds a new meaning to those relapsers who would come back and say it wasn't any fun to drink with a head full of AA. I can't even imagine, being in
It's
AA for a
not fun
long
to
time, and then
leave with a head full of AA.
it's not fun to leave with a head full of it. It's not fun to live, because I tell you why, for myself anyway, I would always be judging, wondering what my motives was, wondering if, I was going to fail, or thinking I was wrong. I didn't trust myself, because they teach you not to trust your thinking. So even if you leave and you don't die and you don't drink, you're probably going to live a life wondering if you should be going to AA. See, that's the other thing. Even in the beginning, Kirsten, when I was in AA, like the first 10 years of Alcoholics Anonymous, I kind of like, I had soft AA. I picked sponsors that didn't tell me what to do. I didn't want anybody to tell me what to do. I went to meetings. I worked the steps like on the wall. I'd look and say, yeah, I did that. I did that. I did that. I didn't want anybody to tell me what to do, and I lost my train of thought there. I was going somewhere important with that, but I lost where I was going. So I guess I don't remember. Do you think you know where I was going with that comment?
Well, what's really funny is it actually goes into the next question that was on my heart to ask
Okay.
you, which
All
was,
right.
Carrie, this is we got 100% Carrie over here. What up? 100%.
Yay.
Yay.
Woo.
I was going to ask you, I was curious. I was like, I wonder what Carrie thinks about the experience of going live, because obviously when we just record a podcast without going live, I can edit out things and it ends up being a little like, if our podcast is 90 minutes published, it was really like a 2 hour and maybe 2 hour and 20-minute
Right.
conversation. And then I can cut parts out, the chat in the beginning, the meeting before the meeting after the meeting, like,
Right.
but also the part where we forget what the heck we're talking about. And then like, if we
Right.
can't remember, we just start over somewhere else. So this part would have been edited out. So I wanted to ask you, Carrie, because part of dissenting is getting comfortable with new mediums, whether it is starting a Substack or starting a social media account or starting a TikTok or starting a YouTube or live streaming for the first time. I wanted to ask you, now that we're about 75 minutes into the live stream, how has it been for you to go live for your first time? Just very honestly, what has this experience been like for you?
I like it. I did a lot of Zoom meetings during the pandemic, and that's what this reminds me of, except I can't see everybody else's faces that are commenting. That's the only difference. So, no, I don't mind it at all. And I was worried that I might trip up and say things and do things, or the dog would bark or something would happen. And so far, so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did take, and I've done some stand-up comedy classes and some improv. So this is kind of like improv.
Yeah. It's so funny. When I was trying to get over my phobia of public speaking, I did improv class, which scared the shit out of me. But I wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I was going to Toastmasters. I was like, I want to speak, but I'm like deathly afraid of speaking. So I did improv as well in the very beginning to get me over. It's so funny. I remember, because you have to say yes, and no matter what,
Yes,
you have to say yes,
mm-hmm.
and you can't say no. So this lady
Mm-hmm.
on stage, she was like, "You slept with my husband." And I'm like, and I was like, yes, and I loved it. And then she was like, what? But I was like, you have to just say yes. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there is ways to prepare for things, but I think it's a great example of, I did hear your dog barking earlier, and you did just lose your train of thought. So those were your two fears, and they happened, and they weren't a big fucking deal. None of it is.
Yeah.
Like, you're showing up and sharing your truth on a new medium and a new platform, and your fears happened, and it wasn't a big deal. And it actually just shows that you can speak your truth. You don't have to do it perfectly. There is no perfect.
Right.
And maybe just being yourself is the actual way. I always think of like authenticity as the medicine. We just want someone who's genuine, that's healing.
Right. Yeah. And just, yeah. And, I mean, I did learn stuff in AA. I learned how to talk to people because I talk to a lot of people. And I also learned that when you share something intimate about yourself with somebody who is safe, then that gives them permission to also share their truth with you if they feel comfortable. So, I mean, I learned about communication. I didn't come to AA with this. I was a pretty shut down young woman. I didn't know about communicating. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what I wanted out of life. I didn't know anything. So everything I learned, pretty much I learned in AA, good and bad. So,
yeah. And I've heard a lot of people say that what they learned in AA about how they grew in AA in positive ways could have easily been learned outside of AA. It wasn't like,
absolutely. That's how
Yeah.
everybody else learns it. Everybody else grows up. Your prefrontal cortex isn't whatever. You got to grow your brain. You can do it anywhere. I just happened to do it in AA and get brainwashed. So maybe there would have been a better place. I think so.
It turns out when they said we need the brainwashing, actually, if you're gonna go with the we need the brainwashing, we need to have a follow-up, which is, and now we no longer need the brainwashing, and here's how you unbrainwash yourself. You know,
Right.
yeah, it's like, okay, maybe it really, someone said yesterday in the comments, AA was the last house on the block. I would be dead without AA. Dead. And I was like, and I wrote back, I was like, you know what? That's definitely part of the indoctrination that I got, that AA was, quote, the last house on the block. I
Right.
actually believed that when I was in AA, and I used to say that. But now that I've deprogrammed, I realized that I never tried SMART. I never tried Sinclair. I never tried this. I like all these other methods I didn't try. And so it
Right.
actually wasn't the last house on the block for me. I just believed that because I heard it so much from the AA propaganda. I'm like, although maybe it was the last house on the block for you, maybe that is true for you. And I said, like, regardless, I'm glad you're alive. But I'm like,
Right.
I didn't try all the thing. It wasn't the last house. It was one of the houses. It wasn't the last house. But so even if it is the last house and you have tried all the things and you're going to go to a cult to get sober like AA, fine, fair enough. And on the back end, when you want to leave the cult, there's a process. It's called deprogramming. The programming helps a small percentage of the people who go, and the deprogramming gets the programming out of your head now that your brain is stable and you no longer need to believe the baloney.
Right. Right. Hi. Say hi.
Kate is saying, "Oh my God, Carrie's dog." And for the listeners, can you describe your dog?
Oh, well, it's a Wheaton Terrier, so it's like a Toto dog. It's very cute. And
So cute.
nobody's barked here, so I think that barking came from outside of your place, Kirsten. Because would you have anybody that could have barked around you? Because nobody barked here.
I don't
Anyway, I
think
did
so.
hear that too, but it wasn't here. So anyway, it's a phantom barking, I
It's a
guess.
phantom bark. Yeah. You know what? I think it was your higher power, Carrie.
I think it was
Wait,
too.
did your
My
higher
higher
power give
power.
you a Christmas card this year?
Falling out of the air. I almost put my vest on with all my AA chips.
Oh my
But
God, that would have been
yes.
funny. We had such fun with our AA comedy skits. We got a Best in Show award-winning dog comment, and we also have Lavender Fox is saying, "Cute pup." That's, yes, exactly. And then Kate is saying, I feel AA actually stunted my personal growth. 100%. That is how I feel too. What's interesting in the cult recovery literature, they talk about like catching up on life after the cult. And so some cults, that when you're in them, you're stunted more than others, right? Depending upon what the kind of control was like and what was limited when you were in the cult. Like, do you not know anything about culture? Were you in a different country in your cult?
Right.
Like what was it that you didn't, in what ways did you not develop? I feel like I'm doing a lot of catch up work still because of the stunting of my growth that I had in AA from it being like a part-time job. It was a lot of
Right.
time, and I was always reading the
So much
same
time.
damn book again and again and again. New sponsee, newcomer at coffee with my sponsor. So if I had instead been, and I was reading, to be fair, I was reading a lot of other books as well. But if I didn't have 10 to 15 hours a week or whatever it was in AA meetings with sponsees, with service commitments, all of the things, then yeah, that's a huge part of your life that you could be worried about moving forward or investing in your future in some ways or investing in your enjoyment of the moment or whatever. I 100%
Right.
feel that my growth got stunted in AA as well.
Same. I totally agree. I totally agree. And in fact, I was actually told that's outside literature. Don't talk about that, Carrie. You can't talk about that's an outside issue. That's outside literature. We only talk about conference approved literature. That's the meetings I went to for the most part was
Yeah.
where we couldn't talk about anything else.
We got a
We had to
comment
talk
here
about
that
AA.
I thought your higher power was a doorknob. Yeah, my higher power is a doorknob of my understanding. It turns out that
Right.
when I turn it, it opens. No, I'm
Nice.
just kidding. It's kind of funny though. So you enjoyed going live today, Carrie?
Yeah, I do. I like it. It's been fun vibing with you live, and uh, thanks for asking me to do this. I haven't had a chance to really talk about dissenting, which is different than deprogramming, because you
Right.
can dissent and not deprogram, and that I think is a really good distinction to make. I mean, like I said, I will always be dissenting because I never want to give my life to an be defined by another program again. You know, I'm just figuring stuff out. You know, I'm 64 years old and I'm just figuring out who I am, because for so long a defined who I was. And
When
that may
I'm
sound,
64.
yeah, simplistic, but it's true. I got a lot of you know, that's who I was. I was AA. I could have been a poster. I mean, obviously I wasn't perfect and I didn't do everything perfectly, but I tried. And if I wasn't doing it perfectly, I was worrying about not doing it perfectly. And I don't have those worries anymore. I don't have those. How many times have you talked to somebody in AA and they say something like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I should be
Mhm.
doing more. And that was me all the time, you know?
This is so funny, Keith. We're talking about AA is the last house on the block and how that's like propaganda, not reality. And Keith says it was a shitty house, Kirsten.
Oh, funny. You've got funny listeners. I love your people here, you
They
know, the people that are vibing with us.
the
They're
commenters
great.
are like everyone is so smart and
They're
witty
so
and like
smart.
yeah, I learned so much from the comments and like YouTube is
Mhm.
like I feel like YouTube is pretty safe where Facebook is like my I could have never imagined. So like that my Facebook would turn into essentially like a dumpster fire of AA trolls. And obviously I have some people from high school on there. I have some people from jobs I
Right.
used to have like a long time ago. Like I started Facebook, I want to say in 2005 when I was a UCLA student. So there's my UCLA friends like but now it's like an AA dumpster fire. Although I am switching out of being so focused on deprogramming. This month has been about dissenting. And there's a big difference.
Mhm.
Deprogramming is like,
Mhm.
let me look at all these beliefs that I believe that were programmed into me by the ideology, by the system, and do I believe them? Do I believe I'm powerless? Do I
Right.
believe there's a fatal progressive disease? Do I believe I have a spiritual malady? Do I believe I need a daily reprieve contingent upon my spiritual condition? Do I believe my solution and the only way to live is altruistic, like free labor exploitation, like needing to serve and Bill's group for free forever? And also spiritual, like I need a higher power through Bill's 12 steps, not any religion, but Bill's 12 steps to God, which
Mhm.
is not a path to God, but it is a path to God. So that is like the deprogramming stuff. The dissenting stuff is speaking about it and all that that comes
Mhm.
with.
Yes.
Dissenting comes with trolls. Dissenting comes with, to me, it's like a deeper drop in my cojones, right? It's like
Mhm.
to be in the arena and to take the swings and to take a stand for something that I believe in and to show up
Mhm.
knowing that I'm going to get all the negative stuff,
Right.
but to be anchored to a purpose of no, it's important to me that people are validated in their exit. It's important to me
Right.
that people are supported and have a way out. And this is something that actually I wish society knew and they don't yet as a whole. And so it's a worthy thing to talk about. And I guess the future for me is that I'm not going to stop talking about this, but it's going to be right sized, if you will, meaning that AA is a part of my story. It's not the whole story. It doesn't define
Right.
me. Alcohol is a part of my story. It doesn't define me. I haven't had a drink since 2009.
Right.
Even my anxiety disorders that I got over a long time, that most of my YouTube is about anxiety. Like that's a part of my story. It's not my story. And my story is continuing and I'm evolving. And so
Mhm.
I'm going to feel free to talk about any part of my story that's relevant in any conversation. I'll go on any
Right.
podcast, anybody else's podcast and talk about
Mhm.
it. But moving forward, I'm more in a, forward facing vibes, courage, rebuilding your life, creating what's
Mhm.
next, enjoying the
Right.
moment, and living fully after you've been out of a cult and after you've been out of an addiction. It's like really fucking going for it in life. That's more what makes sense
Absolutely.
to me. It's building what's next and enjoying the now. Carrie, what is next for you?
Well, I think the number one The number one thing that
Wait a minute.
a dissent.
First of all, I want to say, yes, Patricia, live in the house. We are live. We are live right now. Live check, live check, live check. Can I get a 1, 2, 3 live? Sorry, Carrie.
No, that's okay. I was just thinking when you were talking, for me, so I think like in a cult, you know, the number one thing that you can do as a dissenter is to have a good life so that the cult can see that you're doing good and
Yeah.
doing well. I mean, it's kind of like being an example. I know that's AA lingo, but I mean, the truth is my next step is to live my life, to do it well, to be happy, to write about whatever I want to write about, and to do whatever I want to do as long as it's legal, or even if it's not legal, if I want to do it, but just to be an example of, and then to be available if somebody wants to talk about it. And maybe even I'll speak out about it more publicly if an opportunity comes out again, but just to continue to raise my flag of dissent. Maybe I'll even come up with a flag, AA with a sign and a line through it or something, so maybe I'll get a sticker and put it on my car so that people will be like, that woman doesn't like AA. Why not? I mean, I'm there to answer those questions to anybody that wants to know why I think AA is harmful. And that's the question I get most often is, well, why do you think AA is harmful? How can it be harmful? People don't understand.
Yeah. It's funny. Somebody was saying AA is not coercive control. I've never seen coercive control at all ever in AA. That was like this morning. I've never seen a coercive control in AA. Again, if you want to like really see the dynamic of what it's like to engage with a AA member who's like a more of a true believer, like somebody who's like fully in, go to my Facebook page. It's below in the comments. It's my personal Facebook page, but it's become like a lot of AAs are like they're very active, like sharing their dogma. But someone's like, there's no coercive control in AA. There's not any coercive control. And I'm just like, okay, yes, there's actually a lot of coercive control in AA. And here's an example of what it sounds like. Quote, you have a fatal progressive disease. That's the learned helplessness. And quote, service keeps you sober. That's the free labor exploitation. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of examples. Those are just two. Because it doesn't, when we're in it, we don't take that as that's coercive control. But if you buy into that you have a fatal progressive disease, now you're fucked. You're stuck. And that the only solution is Bill's religion. Okay, now you're a lifer. Right. And that the solution works out on the altruistic plane. Okay, so now you're getting into free labor exploitation, whether it's service commitments in the meeting or sponsoring people. And you know what? I really loved sponsoring people. I did. Mm-hmm. And I still talk to the 3 sponsees that I had when I left. They've all since left too. But I really enjoyed it. So I would have not been receptive to the term free labor exploitation because I enjoyed that time. But you know what? I would have rather been equal friends with them instead of like, their sponsor and built relationship with people or never gone and met different people that would have been my friends instead of going the sponsorship route and spending all that time reading a book to these people. That is just total bullshit. And yeah.
Same.
Carrie, this comment's for you.
Green Mountain Mama, enemy of Bill W. bumper stickers so we can find each other. Yes.
Like all friends of Bill? Friends of Bill? That's so
except
funny.
Enemy of Bill. Oh my God. That is so cool. Yeah. That's clever. That is so clever.
That's
Enemy
hilarious.
of Bill W. I'm making a sticker. I'm going to do it.
Somebody said on Facebook, what's the name of your cult? And I just wrote back because I say, okay, AA is a cult. They're like, you're a cult. I'm like, okay, AA is harmful. You're harmful. I'm like, can we be a little more like thoughtful here? This is like 3rd grade. Like,
right.
You're a jerk. No, you're a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now I lost my train of mind. We're even,
That's
Carrie.
what happens when you do live. Okay.
Live in the house. What was I going to say?
Live in the house.
Oh, they said, what's the name of your cult? And I just wrote back, bashers with a little dancer emoji. Because like, if y'all are going to call me a basher, I'm going to own it then. Because first of all, if helping people see the truth about a system that has controlled their life for God knows how long, right? For me, it was a decade. For Carrie, it was decades. For some people, it's a little bit of time. For some people, it's 30, 40, 50 years, right? If me speaking my truth about the harms in a system, as I see them, is going to help someone be liberated from that, and you want to call that basher, then I'm a motherfucking basher, okay? Give me a hammer. Give me whatever bashing tools I need. Let's get that harmful system out of the person's mind. I'm a happy basher, okay? I'm not bashful about it.
Yeah.
I'm full of bash. I'll bash away. So if that is a basher, sign me up all day, every day. So I don't mind it. So I was like, the name of my cult, it's Bashers. That's the name of my cult.
Now my dog is barking. Hey, come here. Somebody's home, so maybe that's my signal.
Well, really quickly though, we have a few more here. Carrie,
Okay.
Kate thinks you should start your own YouTube channel.
Oh, love you, Kate. Hang on, let me get the dog. Hey, shh. Quit.
Let us know in the comments if you would like to see a YouTube channel from Carrie, what you would like to see on it. Are we inspiring her right here, right now to create a YouTube channel? Oh, you could hear us still?
Yeah, I could.
Okay, we have Patricia. You want to read this one?
Yes, Patricia Prince 7174. Fabulous. I finally made the live 100% part of the fan club, made the official decision to leave this year, but been in and out from the get-go, especially as a Native American. Yeah. Anybody with any different beliefs other than Christianity are going to struggle. Even if they say you can choose your own concept of God, they don't really mean it. They want you to like eventually their God, period.
Yeah. And I really, I've heard a lot of people say that AA is designed by and for and still, like, I mean, I hate to say this, but white men. Yeah. Like with all the privileges, meaning like somebody like Bill Wilson, who was, I mean, if you look at some of the 13th step stuff and like a little bit predatory in nature, right? That maybe they needed to be knocked down a couple of notches, where some of us who were actually the prey in those circumstances didn't actually need that knocking down. And so it really is like a systemic way to knock you down. And for some people, that might be what they need to quit drinking. I don't know. But I didn't need that. I needed to be validated. I needed different things. You know, if I look back on it now, and I love that there's a lot of other non-harmful paths that are more accepting and more trauma-informed, modern science aligned, open to everybody. Like, yeah, and that aren't pathologizing. The chronic pathologizing is ridiculous inside the rooms, but also as a dissenter. I am constantly like pathologized as a dissenter. The obvious ones, like you're sick, you're unwell, you're untreated, you're a dry drunk, or you're a narcissist, you're predatory, you're a cult leader, you're like on and on and on and on. All the names, like all the names I've been called. I was so funny because I was like scared to be called that stuff in the beginning before I said anything. I'm like, what if they say this? What if they say that? And now I'm just like, it just really, when someone's calling you all these names and oh, you're mentally unwell, you need a therapist, you're like all these things that they're throwing at me. I mean, that's so fucked up. And like, I know Victor got that a lot, like Quackaholics, when he was in AA. And the chronic pathologizing is so demeaning, degrading, and can even be damaging to mental health, especially when you really are trying to like make friends with the people that are doing it. But right now, honestly, it says more about the individual and the system they're coming from than me. And I see that. I see like when you're so offended by what I'm saying in my perspective that not only can you not scroll by, because guess what, bro? When I look at my phone, I don't like everything that I see. I'm not a troll. I move on. Like, I say what I think on my own page and I stay the fuck off yours. And I scroll on. I'm like, this is just crazy. And I scroll. And so if you need to go on somebody else's side of the street, somebody else's page, and give them all these, you're mentally unwell, you're sick, you're this, you need help, you need therapist. I mean, it's really telling me about that person. Who would do that? What kind of person would do that? Do they
Right.
actually believe that? Is this like a defense
Right.
mechanism because your worldview has been like you felt threatened by what I said, or your survival, or your community, or your friendship, or whatever. And but that happens inside AA too. The we're
It
sick.
does.
I'm not bad. I
Totally.
always heard I'm not bad getting good. I'm sick getting well. This whole you're sick thing.
Right.
And Bill's path to God is the only thing that's going to make you not sick.
Right. Right. Oh yeah, I was told I had to screw loose, and I always would. My mind was a dangerous neighborhood, and I dare not go there alone. My first thought was wrong. I mean, all that stuff. You've heard it all before. That's the kind of things they tell you to break you down until you surrender enough to start buying their bullshit, and starting to believe. Because I didn't think any of that stuff when I first got. In fact, I can remember thinking, especially this. I am not selfish. All I do is take care of other people. I mean, I'm a nurse, I'm a mom, all I do is take care of people. So how can I be selfish and self-centered and self-righteous? I do not believe I am,
Yeah.
but they very clearly said, if you aren't saying that you are, then you're in denial. You have to look at that. Where were you selfish and self-centered and full
Such
of
a gaslight.
self-pity? Such a gaslight. I'm like, I am not. And even like looking at your part in everything, I still feel bad about telling people, no, you weren't responsible for what happened to you as a child, but you are responsible for still thinking about it, or still acting or reacting from that place. You're still responsible because you haven't healed that, I guess. Or I didn't even say heal. I would just say because you're identifying that as being an issue for you today, that's on you. That's on you, that you have to, So, I mean, I'm not a therapist. I would just spout this bullshit. I swear to God, that was spouted to me. Sometimes I just made shit up. I know my sponsor. I know people just make shit up. They say whatever they think, and they call it AA, and that's the program. And I know that haters or AA true believers are going to say that that's not every AA meeting, and that's not every AA member. Well, of course it's not. We wouldn't say that it was. What do we got there? Mariana Life Animal says, but they also say it's a selfish program. Yes, that's always so much double speak. Like, it's a selfish program, but don't be selfish. Totally.
Yeah, and deep with deprogrammed eyes, the way I look at it now is it's very anti-self. AA attacks the self. Self is bad. Self-will is bad. Self will run riot. Self is the problem. Service is the answer. So what that does is it perpetuates the system, right? If you believe that you need to serve others in order to survive, you're going to stay and free labor in the system. So the system perpetuates itself. That, in my view, comes from Rockefeller. That was Rockefeller's legacy to Alcoholics Anonymous, was creating the systems inside where the system inside where AA perpetuates itself. AA takes over the entire supply chain, from the propaganda in the movies all the way to therapists recommending the meetings, rehabs recommending the meetings for the rest of your life, right? That's how Rockefeller, the OG one, he dominated the entire supply chain in the oil industry, right? And then also like going not just vertical, but also horizontal, getting in all the industries, right? So AA got into medicine, it got into Hollywood, it got into media, it got into the institutions, it got into like everything basically. So it's so embedded into society through modeling, like in my mind, like, I mean, Rockefeller Jr. met with Bill, gave Bill $5,000 from what I've researched. And that was stipend out weekly so that Bill can, write the book or whatever. But it wasn't really about that $5,000 that, because Rockefeller, his dad, senior, was at the time the richest man in America. So it could have been a lot more than $5,000 that they gave. They're like, no, this thing has to be free. But what they did was they put the system in place that lets it perpetuate itself like forever. Right. So it's so embedded. They got it so embedded in culture that it's like almost unbreakable, unstoppable. That was a tangent, by the way. But this whole idea of anti-self, it's like maybe for Bill, that's what he needed. I'm probably was nothing like Bill. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't born like at the turn of the 20th century. I wasn't like a veteran. I wasn't like
Mm-mm.
his parents. Like, I think he was abandoned by both of his parents. He was raised by his grandma at her place in Vermont that I went to when I was on my AA tour. Um, and and so maybe what Bill needed was to knock down his ego and knock down his self. I actually needed to be built back up. I needed to learn how to trust myself, not how
Yes.
to abandoning myself
Mhm.
wasn't a
Right.
solution for me. I had already spent my entire life abandoning myself. I was
Mhm.
autistic and ADHD and didn't know it. I was trying to fit into a world that my brain didn't fucking mirror. I was constantly abandoning myself. I was people
Mhm.
pleasing. I was doing all these things to try to fit in, and I didn't need to forget myself more. I needed to remember who the fuck I am and trust myself
Right.
and like align with myself. So it wasn't actually the right system for me anyways. I was nothing
No.
like Bill and I didn't need what Bill needed. Bill might have needed that, you know? I don't know, but
Right.
it also Bill's promising us to be happy, joyous, and free, and he's writing the 12 and 12 while he's literally spent the 1940s, most of it depressed as fuck, unable to get out of bed.
Mhm.
So it wasn't even true
Right.
for Bill. It literally didn't even work for Bill. I mean, yeah, I believe that he probably never drank again. Fine. Bill was stayed sober since, you know, his psychedelic or his hallucinogenic experience in the town's hospital with Dr. Silkworth, right? He was on drugs when he saw God, his big revelation that later he's like, well, Jung says you need to find God. It's like, yeah, but Bill, you were like on meds.
Mhm.
So maybe he stayed sober. I think he did. I wasn't there. I mean, he died before I was born, but he wasn't happy, joyous, and free. He was depressed in bed. In the
Mhm.
1940s, the big book came out in 1939. He spent the 1940s, a chunk of that depressed in bed, writing the 12 and 12. Marty Mann couldn't get him out of bed to like promote and get AA propaganda into, you know, get it systematized like the Rockefeller system. So he wasn't happy, joyous, and free, but he was promising we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness, but he didn't. So
No.
I'm not even sure if Bill's program really worked for Bill. And he also like kind of took it from Frank Bookman, like the Oxford group, right? So it's like literally a religion. So I don't
Right.
know. I don't know where I'm going with that. That's more about
Well.
deprogramming than dissenting. I did a tangent on a tangent on a fucking tangent. And that's what happens when we're live. When we're live, I don't
Woo.
know what the fuck is going to fly out of my mouth sometimes. There you go. You've been
Yeah.
healed.
Well, it used to be explained to me that the reason Bill didn't was depressed was because he spent more time thinking about the program than actually working the steps. That's what I was told why he was depressed. Do you want me to read that one from Green Mountain
Sure. Yeah.
Mama? My mental health got worse the harder I worked the program. Honestly, it would have helped if I'd known Bill W. was severely depressed in sobriety. Instead, we got the promises. I thought I was broken. Yeah, absolutely. It's all gaslighting. I mean, it's just they weren't acting, they weren't telling the truth, you know.
Ben Super Clean says, an old timer once told me that if Bill W. was alive today, he would have been diagnosed NPD, ASPD. So that is narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder.
Hmm.
AA is a masterclass of narcissistic abuse, love bomb, gaslight, induced dependency, discard. Oof. Yeah.
Totally.
And if you dissent, you're definitely going to get the discard. You're going to get the, what do they call
Hmm.
it in, like, I don't like the word narcissistic. I feel like it's like used a lot, but in this context, I totally agree with you. And I think it's
Hmm.
helpful as a frame. I don't like to pathologize people in general, but in the narcissistic like language, there is something for when they attack people who don't agree with them. And that happens if you dissent. I don't know. I forget what that's actually called.
Right.
Um,
Mm.
I think ever since leaving AA, I just don't like any. I'm like so cautious with all labels. I'm like, wait, we're kind of more than all
Right.
this. Although I do think it's helpful. For me, it's helpful to know that somebody is, maybe indoctrinated into AA or inside the ideology when I talk to them, because I have context and I get that they're not going to understand me and we're not going to have a straight conversation because I'm going to get a lot of jargon parroted at me, and it's not. They're going one day at a time, turn it over, live and let live. There's just going to be all these things said at me that are kind of nonsensical, but I get what you mean, but it doesn't actually mean anything. It's like
Right.
the AA slogan, word salad.
For sure. For sure. But I agree with you about, I go to this spiritual center And I don't even call it a church. They don't call themselves a church, but they do start out with like a mission statement and a statement of faith, but it's all very non-Christian like. And then they end with the same song. And I even have trouble with that. It's like, no, I'm not going to repeat that. I'm not going to say that out loud with everybody else, because it's just too familiar to me. It's just one more way to indoctrinate people into a system, even if it's a system I basically agree with. I agreed with AA too. So now I'm like putting the brakes on everything.
Yeah. So Carrie, as we're approaching our second hour here and getting towards the
Yes.
wrap up point and then needing to go to the bathroom point, is there anything that we didn't say yet about what it's been like to speak out about AA that you think would be helpful for somebody that's listening?
You know, we talked about pushing through the fear, and also that I think it's really important, or at least it was important for me to realize that the fear wasn't real, that was, like I said, the secret sauce of the cult, to put in all these phobias about leaving, and that it's more about them than you. That, you know, it's not real. Just do it. You'll be fine. If you need more help, you know, get the help you need, and don't be afraid to speak your mind, and then also expect some pushback, or maybe you won't have any, like me. You know, maybe nobody's going to say nothing to you and it's going to be crickets, and for the most part you're just written off the page. And you know, I mean, it's kind of like, what the hell did I do all that time if nobody even cares enough about me to like give me a phone call and say, what are you doing? You know, I was totally surprised. You know, I was totally surprised, but not really surprised, because I tell you, I had this experience when I had 10 years sober. And I think I shared this on another podcast with you, Kirsten, but I was in this very culty AA meeting. We had to dress up and you had a certain language that you had to speak, a cult within a cult. And I had a 10-year sobriety birthday, and nobody from my home group came except for one person. And so I understand that they oftentimes they'll say stuff and they don't really mean it. It's just, they just keep saying what they think they're supposed to say. But nobody came to my sobriety party, and nobody came to rescue me from myself after I left AA. So it's just all, the battle's all in my head. The battle was all in my head. And it's probably going to be in your head too, if you're thinking about dissenting, because really nobody cares enough about it. They're all selfish. They just care about themselves. Nobody's going to come and try to rescue you unless you're drinking and they can get some, you know, they think it's going to save their life by coming to rescue you. It's not going to save anybody's life to come and rescue me. I'm not drinking, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a lot to unpack. It took me a long time to feel actually ready, and I didn't feel ready when I did it anyways. It was very courageous for me because I was terrified to actually dissent. And for me to feel comfortable, I needed to wait a long time. Like, I just did a podcast with Quackaholics Anonymous last week, like 5 days ago. And he was saying that in the beginning, one of his biggest fears was dissenting, was that he wouldn't have a reply to say, that he didn't know enough yet about everything. So if somebody came at him with something, he wouldn't have like a logical, research-backed rabbit hole, been there, done that, like way to reply to people. And that was a big fear of his at first. I never had that fear. I waited 5 years to say anything, which you don't need to wait, but I waited 5 years. I didn't think I was ever going to say anything. But I actually already had done so much of the research. And I thought I was fully deprogrammed when I started talking about AA online, deprogramming. And through the past year of dissenting and creating all the content and doing all the research and reading all the books and all the things in order to create all that content, I actually grew tremendously. And I realized more was revealed. And I realized I had a lot more AA in my head that I've thankfully gotten out. And now I feel like I'm at the point where, just like my childhood trauma or anything else, it's probably not all gone, but it's enough of it is gone that I'm done, and I'm not recovering anymore. I'm not recovering from AA. I'm not recovering from my childhood. I'm not recovering from anxiety. I'm not recovering from anything. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not in recovery from anything. AA really got that into my head, this idea that I needed to be in forever recovery. And it's the first time in my life now that I feel like I'm not recovering from anything. I'm just a fucking human being who's living life.
Right.
And I'm not tied to my past in any significant way where I need to do the work either to maintain my
Right.
life, my existence, or to get over something. And look, I might go into recovery in the future, meaning like both my parents are alive. If and when they die, if I survive them, I am going to go through a grieving period, and that's going to be so I will be recovering from that. But like, so it's not that I won't ever be in a phase of recovery, a season of recovery in my life in the future, but I'm currently not for like the first time ever. And it feels so liberating to not be anchored to the past. And that's all part of the AA ideology anyways, that you need to be forever tied to who you used to be, and that you're responsible to help the others who are also in that problem. So that the whole thing. And so it feels really good to be like out of that, and that I get to choose based upon like how I feel that I want to lead myself. Like, is my intuition saying this? This is what my interest is. I'm compelled to go in this way. I really want to support people in this way. So whether it's coming from my mind, my heart, my gut, whatever, my higher self, however I want to conceptualize how the information is coming through my vehicle, my body, that I feel led to do this thing, and that it's from my own choosing, not from Bill's choosing, not from society's choosing. And that feels very liberating to me.
Yeah. It's not out of guilt. And like you said, you said you might be in recovery again for a season. I think that's the key. A season, not a lifetime.
Yeah. We got to thank you to both of you. Well, thank you for being here. I hope it's been worth your time and you heard something that was helpful. I know that having these conversations always help me, meaning they open up my mind a little bit more. And so I'm really grateful for all the time I spend in these conversations, because I feel that they're really worth it. And who I become as a result of having them is the path that I want to go on. We have Noah Stone saying, so much of my battle in my head, I have to frame in a meeting like I'm a crazy alcoholic because nothing could ever be wrong with AA. And if there was, well, I'd have to be crazy for bringing it up.
Right.
100%. It's like a trap. You're always the problem. Like the joke I have is like cult rule number 1, because there's not fucking rules, but cult rule number 1 is we're not a cult. And cult rule number 2 is whatever you say, you're wrong. The system's right. Yeah. The cult's right. You're wrong. No matter what, you're wrong. The cult's right. And so this is it. It's like, it's framed as you're a crazy alcoholic. So yeah, they really like the insane word, don't they? In AA, you're going to go insane. And they really like that the death threats are like heavy, and the sane ones, you're going to be institutionalized. And even alcoholic, which I don't even believe in that word anymore. I like alcohol use disorder because it talks about a behavior of drinking and then changing that behavior of drinking. It doesn't make it, it's not an identity. It's a behavior that can be changed. We know neuroplasticity is a vibe. It's been a vibe for a long time. Brains change. The same brain that needed to get sober, my brain is not the brain that I have now, 16, almost 17 years later. I don't need the same things now that I needed then, just like I don't need the same things now that I needed when I was 3 years old or 2 days old. At 2 days old, I had a different brain than I had at 12 days, It's like we fucking evolve.
Right. I agree. Let's see. Is this Ethel R5Z? Just saying hello and thanks to both of you for the content. I'm on hiatus from 12 Steps AA and considering leaving altogether. It's early days though. Yeah, I feel you. I took a sabbatical from AA and I announced it in 2021. My wife and I went away for 7 months with our camper, and I told the women I sponsored and my sponsor I was going on sabbatical and I wouldn't answer their calls. And that took a lot of courage, because I mean, you just don't do that. In fact, they said, what does a sabbatical from AA mean? And I said, it just means I'm not going to do AA for 7 months. I'm not doing it, And then I did go to one meeting in November of 2021 in New Mexico. And when I walked out of that meeting, I thought, yeah, I'm truly done. So I understand the fear. I understand taking a hiatus or a sabbatical. And,
yeah.
I do.
I don't even think that anybody should leave AA necessarily. I think that we should trust ourselves. And so if you feel to leave, if you feel to stay, I don't know what anyone should do, but I know that I'm going to trust myself. And so I trusted when I felt like it was time to go, and I left immediately. You know, for me, it was night and day. It was boom. I was like, I felt like I popped out of the brainwashing. I was like, whoa, yeah, I got to go. Like, but there's no like brownie points. There's no like for doing anything the way that somebody else did. Like, I think we got to trust ourselves. And for some people that's staying in AA. And I'm all about that. And I would never encourage anybody to leave AA. My thing is about if you've left AA or considering leaving and you want to have some of the stuff that's been going on in your head that you're not allowed to say out loud if you want to still be accepted by the tribe, to validate you, because it was what I wish I had heard that I didn't hear when I left, because it was brutal for me to leave, because I thought I was going to die. I thought I was, I knew I was going to be shunned, and I didn't know which way was up, and I was getting a daily reprieve from the meeting. It was regulating to be in that system, in that structure. And so without it, plus I left right at the beginning of the pandemic, like April 6, 2020. So like the world was in chaos. And I'm just like, for me, it was like, I felt like it was not true and I can't live a lie. So for me, it was like, boom. But I also am kind of like that. I'm kind of like, once I'm done, boom, with certain things. And so, but I don't think anybody should leave AA. I think people should trust themselves. So I don't know what anybody else should do. And I would never say leave or go. I would definitely never say go to AA to anybody. But if people tell me, should they go to AA, I would say, trust yourself. If you're looking for other paths when you're making your decision, here's some other paths. But I don't know what anybody else should do. Right. Maybe AA is going to be what's going to save your life or help you or whatever. Maybe. But please note, there's a deprogramming on the flip side if and when you leave. So like a warning label.
Yeah. I think that I wouldn't tell anybody to go to AA today, but I also wouldn't tell them to leave. But I hope that the people that are thinking about leaving AA heard me say how I used to fantasize about moving away to get away from AA. If that's what you're thinking, if you're thinking I have to do something radical to get out of this program, then you're probably in a cult. So I would say fuck AA and leave, because if you have to think about moving away and relocating to get out of a program, then you're in a cult or the cartel. I don't know, but you that's what I thought. I honestly thought that. I'd have to move away, that I couldn't leave in my own community. I thought I couldn't leave. So you can leave.
Carrie, you crack me up. You're in a cult. Run. I wouldn't say that, but I did, I was kind of snarky one time with this lady that I know from AA, Bali AA. And her whole Facebook is about like, she's like a recovery coach or something. Her whole Facebook, her whole marketing campaign is around, you're powerless, you're diseased, all this stuff. I think it's very harmful rhetoric. And I just unfollowed her, kept being her friend, but unfollowed her because I don't want to see, because every time I read that, I'm like, you're literally disabling people. You're harming people. This is harmful, but none of my business. So I just make it so I don't see your post. And then eventually she came over onto my page. This is like, I don't know, like 5 months ago or something. And she wrote this really nasty, long ass comment about how I'm harming people and blah, 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 blah. And I'm dry drunk, whatever she was going off about. And I just wrote back her name, like in all caps, you're in a cult. Like, you're literally harming people through your marketing. It is AA propaganda. You are harming people. And then I wrote, wake the fuck up. You're in a cult. She's the only one I've said that to, because I actually know her. We hung out one-on-one. We would go to like little meditation things and like dinner or like whatever, lunch. So right. we were pals, and then you're going to come at me like, I wish somebody that I trusted and knew and respected and was friends with would have try to shake me awake just once. One time.
Me too.
I wouldn't tell her that again. In fact, I unfriended her after that because I was like, I just don't even, oh no, I had already unfriended her. And then she came onto my page and said that. So I'm like, bro, you're in a cult. But I wouldn't say that in general. It's because we had a friendship that I felt like, I'm going to say it. but that's what a friend would do. A friend would say, try to shake you awake and then let you go if you're not going to leave I don't care what you do, but because we were friends, I'm going to let a friend know you're in a fucking cult. Otherwise, I wouldn't say anything like that. We have a fefew more comments, and then I think we're going to wrap up here. We got, thank you for your channel. AA was so harmful to me. This is Merceline999. I was in AA for 10 years. I wonder, let me start over. Thank you for your channel. AA was so harmful to me. I was in it for 10 years. I wonder where I would be in life if I could have been in a healthy environment. Totally. Right. Yeah. And then we have this one. I needed therapy to recover from AA. Same with me. A lot of abuse was tolerated and done with people with time. Yeah, that's horrific. Yes. I have a lot of empathy for that. Yeah. And for me, there was a lot of, I think we're all harmed by AA. That's my controversial opinion there. I think everyone is harmed by AA because I think the ideology is inherently harmful, and it's harmful to be in the system where you're being indoctrinated and hearing the propaganda all the time, because you're starting to pick up, maybe I have a disease, maybe I'm sick, maybe I need to be here forever. I learned helplessness, like coerced dependency. Like I don't think you can be exposed to all these, I would call harmful dogma points without being affected by it. It's like, at a certain point in time, it works. That's how propaganda works. It slowly goes into your head, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And we have Amy. What a wonderful conversation. I made the decision to leave 2 days ago. Congratulations. And it's this channel that gave me the confidence to trust myself. It's huge. That's huge. It is so huge. Woo. I felt, I'll let you know, it was very much like quitting smoking cigarettes for me. Leaving AA, in that for years to come, I had this thought that would come into my head every time I had like an uncomfortable emotion. And I was sober when I quit smoking. I was 6 months sober when I quit smoking cigarettes. And so I would have this thought come into my head for the first couple of years after I quit smoking cigarettes, where I was physically uncomfortable, I was dysregulated, or I was having an emotion that was uncomfortable for me to be with, or that I didn't know how to be with. And I would have the thought, I want a cigarette. And I started to notice that I would be uncomfortable physically. And then I would have a thought, I want to smoke. And I was like, oh, that was like to medicate a mood that I don't know how to be with or don't want to be with. Right. And so the same thing happened when I left AA. I would have a thought like, oh, I should go to a meeting. And when I would kind of be the mindfulness, be the awareness, the observer of like what was happening in my body, I started to notice that it was like, oh, I actually feel lonely right now. I feel like I don't have a friend to call right now, or I feel like whatever I think a meeting would do for me. So I would have these thoughts over the first couple of years about going back to a meeting, the same way I would have those thoughts about smoking a cigarette again. I never went to a meeting again, but those thoughts would come. So it wasn't even easy to stay out of AA, even though I felt like AA was a harmful cult. It was still like an addiction that I had to break. It was a rewiring of my brain, I guess would be a better way to say it.
Totally. I had the same experience, Kirsten. And also, I want to tell you, if you're leaving and you're struggling and you feel like you need to phone a friend, phone a friend. I mean, you know, that was the thing that I finally gave myself permission, because I was taught to call people when you're struggling. And if I could, you know, in the beginning, like I would just call somebody not in AA, and it would be just as easy to just say, hey, what's up? And maybe talk to them. I mean, so don't be afraid to still call somebody or reach out. You know, if you're not in therapy, it's okay, because you are going to have those feelings like I should go to a meeting. It's imprinted in your brain. Go to a meeting, call your sponsor, call a newcomer, call 5 people, you know, call, you know, and you'll get to the point where you really don't need to call anybody. But in the beginning, for me anyway, I did feel like I needed to talk to somebody. And I, of course, couldn't talk to anybody in AA and tell them I was struggling with leaving AA. So I would call people that didn't know anything about AA.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good Facebook groups as well where you can find community. Like there's like a leaving and deprogramming AA group. There's if you go to Facebook and look in the groups for like deprogramming, 12-step deprogramming AA, leaving AA, there's a lot of Facebook groups that you can find some like-minded people in. And those groups are typically safe, meaning that the admins typically bounce people who are pro AA and being like culty. commenters or are trolling and stuff, they're typically bounced. You want to read this one, Carrie?
Oh, yes. Nuggets of chicken. I love this name, at Nuggets of Chicken. I feel that's so hard. I'm in therapy now too. I get that.
Yeah, I left AA and I got therapy immediately, and it was a therapist I had worked with before. And I worked with her for 6 months. I met with her every week over Zoom or whatever. I think we used Skype. I don't know. It was like, and it was really, really helpful for me to have somebody tell me, actually, I'm glad you left AA. No, you're not going to die. Like, these are beliefs and
Right.
they're not true. And so it was really great for me to be able to be honest and be supported and to have a non-12-step therapist that could help me like remove some of these beliefs. So phobia indoctrination is what happened to me and happens to a lot of people when they get indoctrinated into AA ideology, where we're taught when we join a cult that it's unsafe to leave the cult. So AA specifically taught me, indoctrinated me when I got to AA, that if you leave, essentially it means jails, institutions, or death. If you leave, you're going to pick up a drink, and to drink is to die. That was the long and the short of it, right? And so I had a phobia of leaving because nobody wants to die, right? So I thought if I left, I was going to die. So that's called phobia indoctrination, when a cult convinces you that it's unsafe to ever leave the group. Or you can call it like a doomsday prophecy. A lot of cults, they do that. Like, life outside the cult isn't safe, and they do it in different ways. AA does it with, you're going to drink and you're going to die. Essentially, it sounds a little bit different depending upon what you heard in your meeting, where you are in the world, but the vibe is the same no matter where you are. That life outside the cult is destruction, it's doomsday, it's end of the world, end of your world, whatever. So it took me a couple of months to remove that phobia that I was going to die. So I walked out of AA thinking I was walking into my death, and it took me months of therapy to actually feel that was bullshit. And now I'm like, bro. And it's been 6 years since I left. I'm like, not dead, still not dead. Like, yeah. And then we have this one too. Marceline says, literally, I was prepared to go to jail or die. I was in a place that I'd rather do that than stay. Yeah. Sometimes choosing yourself, even when we're super scared, is the vibe. That's why I call it escape. I escaped AA. And people are always like, well, there was no locks on the doors. There was no guns at your head. I'm like, yeah, the control was in my mind. It was the indoctrination. We police ourselves because we don't even think that we can leave. And the ones who are the most trapped are the ones who are the biggest cheerleaders, right? So I'm an AA. I loved AA when I was in there. I was a big AA cheerleader. I didn't even think I could leave. That's why I'm trapped, because it's not even on my mind. I'm enjoying my experience there. I like sponsor. I like the status I have for having some time up, or what, speaking at meetings. I have a routine and a ritual with it all. I don't even think I can leave, so I'm not leaving. So that's the control. It's not a lock. The control in AA is that you don't it's not even an option. You don't even think about it. You stay and you free labor and you perpetuate the system.
No, the battle for me was all internal. I didn't really get any external pushback. It was all in my head. I had to fight my own battle with trying to deprogram what I'd been told about leaving and staying away, and even deprogram being an alcoholic. I mean, everything. So it is real.
Last question, Carrie. So right when you were getting up, I think you're changing positions, the dog or whatever, people were talking about Carrie should have a YouTube. Would you ever think about having a YouTube? And if so, what kind of vibes would be on your channel? What would you be talking about?
I've talked about doing it with my daughter, and just about mom-daughter stuff, but also talking about her experience with me being in Alcoholics Anonymous, and with her brief experience as well, because I just kept saying, you probably need to go to AA. She got a sponsor, and that sponsor right away fired her because she said, you're not calling me on your call time. And my daughter, who's a lot like me, said, well, I just don't have time to call you every morning at 7 a.m. And then the sponsor said, well, you really don't want to be sober then. So we would talk about I might talk about our experiences. She's got a lot of brilliant things to say too. So I see some Gen X 818. Yes, she needs a channel. Well, I think maybe one of my daughters thinks I do too, because for Christmas, or maybe it was my birthday, they got me this big bad microphone right here, which I haven't even had the courage to use yet, because I think my daughter even thinks I need my own podcast. So there you go.
Kate says that would be so interesting, Carrie. Yeah. So for now, if you guys want to vibe along with some of Carrie's work on deprogramming and what she's up to next, and currently below this, I've linked her Substack. There may or may not be a YouTube channel coming. We don't know. Obviously, it's whatever Carrie feels led to do. She does have the mic, and seeds are planted. Yes. Well, we just plant the seeds. We don't know what blooms.
Yeah. Right. Oh, nuggets of chicken. I just love that. She said, or he said, you guys are saving people's lives. So yes, please make a channel.
More to be revealed. We shall see.
More to be revealed.
Well, and if you do, right, Carrie, I'll definitely shout it out on my channel to let people know where to go to find you, and I'll put your link below all of our older videos and stuff, and help you. And I'll come on your channel if you want, for any reason. I would love to support you. I like what you have to say. You're very thoughtful and smart and fair and funny as fuck. And I just really appreciate you. I really enjoy you. You've helped me grow a lot this past year, and I'm just really grateful to be your friend. And I would love to support you in any way that I can. And I'm cheering you on.
Thanks, Kirsten. Means a lot to me.
Yeah. All right, everybody. It's been so great to be here. Thank you so much for joining in for Carrie Live, Yay. The 12-step cult whistleblowing with the one and only Carrie. Let us know what you think in the comments, especially if you're catching the replay. We want to see what's been sticking out to you. If you are dissenting, definitely drop it in below. Please promote yourself. What is your channel? What is your social handle, or wherever you're dissenting 12-step? Definitely drop it in the comments below. Let's share the love here. And the more the merrier is how I see it. The more people speaking up and trusting themselves and doing what they feel led to inside, right. Which for most people leaving AA, it's not going to be dissenting. But for those that do, yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah. And when I was doing this, it was blowing the whistle, not taking a hit. I just wanted to let everybody know I was blowing the whistle.
Oops. And I'm smacking my mic. Oops, accidentally. All right, guys. Yes, you saw some behind the scenes. You saw some things that would have been cut if we weren't live. Woo! But now you know what it's really like when Carrie and I just vibe. Everything's included, no edits, unfiltered with Carrie. All right, bye everybody. Ciao. Bye, Kate. Bye, everybody.
I love that. Bye, everybody.